Well, welcome to the Draft Professor, everybody. My name's Jim, and this is the preview for our 32 GM mock, which begins in about 10 minutes. So, we always start this podcast a couple of minutes early to let everybody tune in to the podcast. Get your beverage, get your dinner, do what you do while we do a live 3 round mock draft. So, just to take care of a little bit of bookkeeping, um, if you have any comments, drop them in the chat live on the podcast. Drop them in the chat if you are watching this podcast after we've actually done it. We would love to know what you think of our mock drafts. We can tell from the analytics that a lot of people watch these. So if you want to participate in one next week, the signups to draft are on the Draft Professor Twitter page. So if you go to @NFL Draft Fanatic, there's no I in fanatic there. So @NFL Draft Fanatic on Twitter, the pinned post is the signups for next week's draft. So there are still teams available if you want to draft today. So I have that going on my other monitor where I'm going to be able to see which teams are still available. We'll take care of that as people log in. We will have EJ and Clint on the podcast. They should be joining in the next 5 minutes. But I just want to take this time at the very beginning to say thank you for making these podcasts so successful. We can't do this without our followers. And these are always, the highlight of the week is, who took who in the 32 GM mock. We typically talk about those on the podcast the following week. So my name is Jim. I am one of the podcasters at Draft Professor. I am also the one that designed the Draft Professor simulator. So with that being said, I am going to start kicking a few things off. We got to pull the simulator up. And I'm going to get a couple of the bookkeeping things out of the way. So at Draft Professor, one of our objectives is to try to find where the variability is in the draft class. So, we see Ruben Bain and Arvell Reese going at the top of most mocks, right? But you're going to learn a lot more about like who goes picks 20 through 60. And in this podcast, we're actually going to be doing 100 picks, which covers the first 3 rounds. So we try to cover that content. We got Randy in the chat. So Randy will be drafting for the Patriots, I believe. So Randy, it is good to see you. Randy was on our Senior Bowl podcast last night. So Randy, thanks for being here. And you will actually see Randy podcasting on one of these, I believe, in about 3 or 4 weeks, I believe. And like I said, I'm taking care of some of the bookkeeping. Get everything tweeted out. Okay. So let's get this thing ready to go. 3 rounds. Brenton, you are here to draft for Pittsburgh. It is great to see you here, Brenton. Thank you. So 3 rounds. Select all the teams. So we are warmed up and getting ready to go. So, okay. So I have the draft ready to go. We are just now waiting for all of the drafters to start checking into the chat. We see Randy here is drafting for the Patriots. We've got Brenton here who's going to be drafting for the Steelers. And I'm expecting to see a few more people pop into the chat here shortly, as well as EJ and Clint to join me on the podcast. So I tell the podcasters to show up at 6:55. Luis, you are picking for Denver, correct? So thank you very much, Luis. I know that you commented. We got John here. John will be drafting for Detroit. Brandon, you are here. Yes, Brandon, you can draft for the Texans today. So definitely. So we are definitely having a few different people check in. It is good to see all of you. We're here, 7 minutes early, so feel free to drop what's on your mind. I've seen a lot of coach hires and coach interviews coming out today. So I know, like, Buffalo has a new special teams coach. Buffalo has an offensive coordinator. I believe Pittsburgh's signed a new offensive coordinator today. And then obviously the Senior Bowl was this week. So Steve, it's good to see you. Steve, do you want to draft for the Raiders? Because that's a team. Actually, and Steve, we don't have anybody drafting for the Jets either. So yeah, Steve, you can definitely do the Jets. And then Steve, if you wanted to do Miami, that would keep you here, keep you involved. Miami has like 3 third-round picks, so that could keep you busy, kind of thing. So, yep. And yeah, it's great just to have the people that are wild cards that'll just take any team. There we go. Chris, you're here for the Saints. That is awesome. So we are still 5 minutes away from the mock beginning. But like I said, it is great to see all the followers start to check in. That's why we start the podcast a couple of minutes early, just to get everything warmed up. Okay. I got you, Steve. Thank you. So if you have a chance, everybody, give Steve _NFL a follow. He will be tweeting out probably the round 1 picks. I don't know if he does every round, but Steve does tweet out the picks. So if you give Steve a follow, he may even be able to tag you in the tweets when you make a pick. But definitely Steve _NFL and Steve podcast with us every Thursday at 7 p.m. with Taylor. So, Steve, thank you so much for being here. So, trying to think of what other NFL news I have seen come through my feed. I also wish anybody that is in Mobile and heading home, I wish you safe travels. So I know that there's a lot of people, like I'm seeing, Dom is in Mobile. I see Devin Jackson is in Mobile. So I know Randall Slifer was. I'm assuming he went back home. But I wish anybody that is watching this from Mobile, I wish you a safe trip home. So, oh yeah, Brandon, that's a great point. So, the cap went up. The part that surprised me the most, I think, is that the cap, like, was it 6 years ago? It was like 200 million. And then this year it went above 300 million. So the cap has just gone up astronomically. So Adam Peters and I had to think, okay, Adam Peters is Commander. So I'm glad you put Commanders in there so I didn't have to think. So thanks, Bird GM. So we have a decent amount of the people picking. Hopefully Clint and EJ will be here in a few minutes. And we are going to get this draft moving here once we hit 7 p.m. So just do that. And here is Clint. Hey, Clint, how are you?
Doing all right. How are you?
Doing all right. It is good to see you. We are here for one of our Friday mocks. I don't know. Have you ever emceed one of these? Did you get to do this last year?
No, I have not. This is my first time.
Cool. So we are already live. A significant amount of the drafters have already checked in. The draft will actually begin here in about 2 minutes. But do you want to tell everybody your socials before we get going so that they know who you are and how to follow you?
Yeah, you can find anything for me, One Stop Shop at NFL Draft Dome, or my namesake, Clint Goss, on Twitter. Very active there. A lot of content fresh off of getting back from Mobile and the Senior Bowl last night. Had a real good showing there. Steve, I am back in Georgia. I got here last night. My wife had enough of the 3 and the 1-year-old by herself, as much as I would have liked to stay in a hotel room by myself one more night. I powered it back in, but saw a lot of familiar faces. Had a great time with that. Met a lot of new people. A couple good days of practice. Got about 15 player interviews on my Twitter right now that went well. So you can find all NFL draft content for all 32 teams, and then some focus on my Atlanta Falcons as well.
Cool. So Clint, Atlanta doesn't pick until round 2. If you want to make the picks for Dallas, you'll be done at the end of round 1 for them.
That's cool if you need to throw me on that. Yeah.
Kind of thing. So we will be getting started. We will have one other podcaster. Clint, can you see the screen so that if you can just see who the picks are, you would just be able to start talking about them?
Yes.
Awesome. So this will work the best if I talk less. So if you can see the picks while I'm interacting with the chat and making sure the next pick comes in, that will be the most effective way for us to do this. There are a lot of teams that are available. So if anybody in the chat wants to pick for a second team, feel free to drop in if there's another team that you want to pick for. I will get this started. There is really no surprise as to who pick 1 is, but Clint, you can take it away from here.
Yeah, I think this is an easy one to kind of get us on the board. Everybody and his brother knows it's going to be Mendoza. It should be Mendoza. The pairing, more than anything that's exciting to me, is with Tom Brady. Mendoza is kind of dorky in terms of his football knowledge and really geeking out on it. Love listening to him talk, play script, and breaking down film. It just aligns perfectly. And I think, too, when you project that the Raiders are very likely about to hire Clint Kubiak as their head coach, that's a great start for him. And lastly, for people saying things along the lines of like, you'll get a bold person here or there that mentions like taking a tackle or something, spicing it up. They've got enough needs everywhere. They can't solve them all. So I think, having said that, they got to get a quarterback in there. And what's the point of having Ashton Genty and Brock Bowers if you don't?
Okay, and then 2 more picks have come in since then, so take it away.
Yeah, just getting rolling. As far as the Jets taking Bain, I'm that kind of high on Bain there. If I had to, do $100 bet on it, something about it, I see him being interested in Arvell Reese there at that 2 spot. A lot of Jets fans might not like to hear it, but I think his ability to play some of that linebacker, some of that edge rusher kind of helps him as far as 2 needs there. I think in that Aaron Glenn defense, he kind of fits what they need along some of those other linebackers like Quincy and Jamie and Sherwood. But we'll see. I mean, I definitely understand doing the Bain pick. And that's an easy one. Jeremiah Love at 3, man, somebody got fired up to take that one and playing a white flag. They got enough needs. I think that taking a running back that high, and this is, like I said, I'm a Falcons guy, so I've watched us take Bijan at 8th overall as a team that probably necessarily wasn't a player away. And, it has worked out. I think he's the best offensive player in the league. But I think that might be a little bit of a luxurious pick for me. If I was in that spot, I'd really like to see him get a tackle opposite Paris Johnson, like a Francis Mauigoa, that could just be ready to go day one. And they kind of fall in, like I said, as far as they got so many needs, they got to go one at a time. But having said that, this is one of the more difficult teams to project because they have not hired a head coach yet. And then lastly, before I know EJ's going to hop in and get going, Arvell Reese to the Titans. I think you could kind of flip-flop the Bain pick and Arvell Reese as far as the Jets and the Titans, one or the other. Their corner room is bleak, but I think that might be getting a little excited to take, say, a Mansour Delane or a Jamal McCoy at 4. I understand leaning on those two guys in the front 7. And then, man, these are going pretty quick. Carnell Tate at 5. I think that's going to be a little bit of like an auto pick this mock draft season, especially having somebody with some size, more of that 6'3", 6'4", 210, 215 kind of built receiver opposite of Malik Neighbors coming back off injury. The only comment I would have is just I'd be interested to see John Harbaugh go receiver that early. If you look at his investments at receiver with the Ravens, it's been Zay Flowers 22nd, Rashad Bateman 27th. Hollywood Brown 27th. But, you could also counter me and say, yeah, Clint, well, they don't pick in the top 5 because they were doing well enough. And I'd say touche. So totally understand putting them there. EJ, feel free to cut me off and tell me to shut the hell up. 6, Cleveland.
Yeah, so I would just say alternate you and EJ. So that way everybody gets a chance to talk and catch their breath.
Okay. All right. So, where are we starting at?
So EJ, feel free to weigh in on Ruben Bain, Jeremiah Love, Arvell Reese, Carnell Tate, Francis Mauigoa, Caleb Downs, or Sonny Styles going in the top.
Yeah. I mean, I like the Caleb Downs pick for Washington. I think they need a little bit more help in their secondary, and he's that type of player that he can play a lot of roles because I think they have more than one. They got a guy like Mike Sanders still. And now you add a guy like Caleb Downs. You got a lot more versatility in that defensive backfield. I like Arvell Reese at the Titans. I mean, pretty much he's another guy you can put him anywhere in that front 7, and he's going to wreak havoc.
And dude, Sala with him. I was talking about the Cardinals don't have a new head coach lined up yet. The opposite of that with Tennessee. That's thrilling. I mean, I have a few select Titans guys that I think of with that pick, and I know they'd all be excited with it. I'd piggyback some of those comments too. As far as Downs, that's the most idiot-proof pick in this draft. As far as nobody's going to ever get fired because they took Caleb Downs. I understand it's a safety positional value at 7, but that's such an exciting pick. He'd really fit in a Dan Quinn defense. My Falcon self would be disgusted to see Sonny Styles go to the Saints. He's a top 3 player in the draft for me personally. As far as the Saints kind of history and some of their thresholds, I would tend to think they'd be looking for somebody heavy, like the defensive line. But I totally understand going Styles there. I think that's exciting as well. And they might not be comfortable with somebody more on the heavier set that high, say like pulling this out, like a Keldrick Falk. And then, dude, that David Bailey pick to the Chiefs, that's just bad.
Yeah, I think the Chiefs got a little bit different needs, but I mean, I like David Bailey, the player. I think he's gonna like him along with Spags. Spags is gonna find a way to use him. I like the player. I'm not sure. I think there were some other needs in Kansas City, but I mean, if they taking best player available, that he is that.
Peter Woods 10 to the Bengals. That's one that, as far as do know a lot of Bengals fans. That's been more of their buzz personally, is saying that that's who they, not saying that's who they think they should take, that's who they think they will take. As far as the last year or two, some of their emphasis on targeting defensive interior in free agency and in the draft, and maybe some swings and a miss in those attempts. I could see that being too good to be true, particularly if Downs is gone. That's the only other guy I could see them there saying that they couldn't pass up on. Got a huge safety need that's kind of been reoccurring since Jesse Bates left town.
Yeah, and they need Shamar Stewart to take another step. If Peter Woods pans out and Shamar Stewart, they may have something on that defensive line.
Okay, Clint, you are on the clock here for the Dallas Cowboys at 12. You want to talk through your logic here?
When I'm thinking about Dallas having 2 picks, some of the positions I've really kind of been stuck at is secondary, particularly corner. I know that the Trayvon Diggs era has ended. Deron Bland kind of being banged up. I think they just need a body there. I think you also just put a defensive lineman with some size. I think Keldrick Falk is a name to consider. I don't know that that's necessarily what I'm going to do. Receiver, I haven't bid into that as much personally because I believe Pickens is gone when I see it. And I think running back, obviously, with Love gone, that's not really an option. Right here, and there's discussion about them doing tackle as well. But I think right here for the value and if you look at the draft historically, if I pick 12, corner's going to go. I would take Delane there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the right pick.
Okay, EJ, you want to take the Rams here at 13?
So the Rams. Oh yeah, I think we did a mock draft for the Rams. We did. So how good would that Rams offense look with Kenyon Sadiq in that lineup? Who else did? But do they have any? And then still got Jeremiah McCoy there.
I'd toss you a name just discussing it, man. How nasty would Mekhi Lemon be in that offense with Puka having that size and the physicality, kind of more of that Cooper Kupp roll over the middle of the field? Yeah. That could be a luxury pick because they're a team that can afford a luxury pick more so than my comment about the Cardinals earlier. With Sadiq, I just would wonder if they're leaning on Jake Ferguson. I got the name wrong. I got Terrence Ferguson.
Terrence Ferguson, yeah.
Do you guys have Sadiq graded high enough to take it 13?
You see, the thing is with that is I have a first round grade on him. So as far as the first round grade goes, it's whatever team he fits best. So like if it's somebody at 13 and he fits perfectly on their team, then yeah, go ahead. Because like at this point, once you got the first round grade on them, where they go in the first round is more so fit than value. But I would if it's the right fit, I would take him at 13. I would have took Mansour Delane here because LA actually does need some help on their on the defensive backfield, and I would take Jeremiah McCoy, but I think that's a little rich and give him the talent that's already on the board. So I'm going to go with Mekhi Lemon and just, let them outscore everybody.
Would have done the same. And I think I'd add lastly, I saw some crazy stat this week along the lines of that Les Snead and Sean McVay have not used a top 100 pick on a corner since something like I was like a freshman in college. And if you can look at me, you can tell I do not look like a freshman in college anymore. Jordan Reed put it well this week. He tweeted it something along the lines of, he was like, "It's time, it's time, guys." Yeah. Corner's got to be what we're looking at when they come back with their original pick. This would have been Atlanta, and I'll tell you, I think if it had been Atlanta, the pick would have been the same. I think it would have been the same. Lemon would have been nasty there paired with Drake London. So I love that even more just for our layout. Not that it's relevant. The Falcons aren't picking in the first round, but that's just appropriate value, appropriate spot.
Yeah. Yeah. And who's picking for the Ravens?
So Brenton.
While we're waiting on the Ravens pick, the only one we haven't mentioned is Miami at 11, taking Vega I own out of Penn State.
Yeah.
I don't have as great of a gauge on the direction Miami goes round one because, my initial reaction, that corner room's got nothing.
Yeah.
So if somebody had said they took Delane, I'd have been into that. But I also know that they need to get an offensive interior upgrade as well. I know they're kind of waiting on Jova Savagnier to take a step this year. So totally get that one. I'm
Yeah.
really high on Ione. I might be getting that wrong. I need to look that up. But he's been somebody that I've mocked sometimes to Baltimore.
You can't go wrong with a good offensive lineman. They got Jonas Savigny playing left guard. Aaron Brewer has been pretty good as center. They got James Daniels. They signed him from Pittsburgh to play right guard, and it's not a whole lot behind them either. So I can see the fit. I can see you get instant depth, and you got more than likely you got a starter at that position. Did I see Jordan Tyson is still on the board?
You did.
Sheesh. What are you doing, Ravens? Go ahead, take the boy. Yeah, him and Zay Flowers, that would be sick.
You talked him into it.
Oh, yeah, here we go. Here we go.
So how high do you guys have Tyson?
As of right now, I got him as my wide receiver 1. I mean, he does. Only concern with me is the medicals. He's got an injury history, but he's got that type of 3-level threat where he can be a volume catcher at the next level. He can play any position, the X, the Z, or the slot. So you can bounce him around. He can fit into any scheme, and he does everything you need to do on the field. He's got run after the catch. He's got vertical speed. He's got the route running ability. He's a natural separator. So whatever you want to do on the field, Jordan Tyson can fit that mold. So, and I think that's an excellent pick right there for the Ravens, because Zay Flowers is a little bit the same. He's a smaller package, but he has that same 3-level ability as Jordan Tyson. So they just got themselves like a guy that can potentially catch like 70 to 90 receptions.
Totally agree with everything EJ said. I would just add, though they're picking 14, I think they can afford to be somebody at that spot that can kind of take that risk on the medicals with Tyson and bring him along. Mm-hmm. And lastly, it's time to hang up the Rashad Bateman experiment. You didn't land the plane. It's okay. Yeah. It's time to move forward.
Yeah.
I would have loved, when I say I would have loved, I'm a Falcons guy, so I wouldn't have loved it. But if Sonny Styles was still on the board, how the hell do you not take him here at 15 to the Bucs? That he'd play for them for over a decade. That'd be a nasty one. Howell's a name I've been seeing go there with some of their fans. Could have understood Sadiq as well. Could have understood, even if they wanted to go a little bigger on the defensive line with like a Keldrick Falk. I don't think they'll go corner here. So I totally get it. I think they're going to get somebody in the defensive front 7 at that spot. And then wrap around and get a tight end later on. Like, I know I've been putting Oscar Delp a lot in the mid-rounds to Tampa. So I like Howell. I'll tell you, I was disappointed to see him. I mean, understood it, but was disappointed to see him not come to Mobile like he initially accepted the invite, because he could have been, just speaking on Senior Bowl showing, he could have been this year's Mike Green of last year that had the viral clip and left after the second day kind of thing. So, no, that's an exciting one.
And then the Jets playing Caleb Banks.
Banks showed out in Mobile, man. He really showed out.
Extremely talented.
And, I've had the nose tackle group as my favorite position group in this draft. As far as I think the talent is just incredible with names like Banks, Cade McDonald, Lee Hunter, Darrell Jackson Jr., Dom Orange, etc. I get going Banks there at 16. That was kind of the buzz around Senior Bowl, was that Jim Harbaugh had a shit-eating grin the whole time watching Banks. So I think if he'd still been there at the Chargers, that might start looking like his floor here a little bit. Whether or not I'm reading into it a little too much. I've been very often mocking Caden McDonald there. So as far as a big defensive interior for the Jets at 16, I think the person that made this pick got that one right.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think he's a guy that's going to run hot and cold, because we saw that at the Senior Bowl, like day one. He was a little bit he was a little bit of a dial tone, like he was just there, and then like somebody pissed him off on day 2, and he just wrecked shop all over the place. So I think he's going to be that type of guy as a player. So it's going to be up to that coaching staff to keep him locked in and keep him focused, so they can get the best out of him on game day.
But echoing that for you, though, I mean, you're sitting here talking about the Jets walking out of the first 16 picks in this scenario with Reuben Bain and Caleb Banks. That's nasty.
Mm-hmm.
That's nasty.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's a scary.
That's
defense.
nasty. You got to be excited about that. And T.J. Parker was one that, while I wasn't as high going into the Senior Bowl, I have to give it to him. You really do see the athletic traits there. I mean, he got clocked over 17 miles an hour at that size. A guy who's a legit 265, very well built, very well coached. Obviously, coming out of Dabo and Clemson, could definitely see Detroit as a landing spot that gets excited about him. The only thing I throw out is, man, I really like them to jump on this tackle board, one of these left tackles, whether it be a Monroe Freeland, Georgia, real now blocker, 6'7", 315, great feet, very athletic, the kind of guy that signed with Georgia at 275 and still looks like he runs it. Or Caleb Lomu out of Utah, a little lighter, 304. But, I mean, only a redshirt sophomore, best football ahead of him. I would have considered them, but I get the Parker pick there.
Yeah, I like that Parker pick because it's instantly just him going to Detroit instantly makes him more effective because he's not going to be their leading pass rusher. He's going to be paired next to Aiden Hutchinson. All the attention is going to be shown to Aiden Hutchinson. Meanwhile, he's going to get the one-on-ones over there. So he's going to go there and he's going to be a lot more effective on that defensive line. Just for the simple fact that he's not going to be asked to be the superstar right off the bat.
Absolutely. And then, quickly go into Minnesota at 18, taking Jermod McCoy. I feel like that's one that it's almost become like an annual tradition here to discuss DBs with Minnesota, particularly safeties. But, right here they're going to be looking corner. For Delane to have already gone, I think you definitely nab McCoy there. I mean, imagine him in a Brian Flores defense is really exciting. It'll be interesting to see what direction they go as far as GM after firing Kwesi today. And I think as far as other secondary needs, they feel more comfortable circling back. Like I left the Senior Bowl circling Jalen Kilgore out of South Carolina as a very likely Vikings player in that Flores defense, ability to play nickel or safety, but that's not a first round kind of selection. So no, I like that one. I think that's really, they got defensive tackle on there.
And Clint, you are on the clock for your second and final pick for the Dallas Football Cowboys.
EJ, why don't you discuss that Carolina pick some while I'm looking at it?
The fact that I like the Lomo pick because we see with Carolina, they're finally choosing an identity. They're a team that wants to run the ball. They want to be physical up front. And Caleb Lomu he adds right into that. He's going to fit right on that offensive line with Ike Ekwonu on the other side. They're a team that wants to run the ball. They want to be strong up front. And I like the fact that they're finally building towards something. The question about Bryce Young is still in the air, whether he's the guy or not. But if you build a strong structure around him, you can really like take out the quarterback and insert another one, and you won't really miss a beat because you have the infrastructure around you already. So I like that. I like that pick for Carolina.
I think the discussion here for Dallas, having already gone corner, is probably either Keldrick Falk or CJ Allen. I know that there are some that aren't as high on Allen as I am. I think when you look at that, you kind of got to consider in the second, third round, particularly with multiple picks, where do they feel more comfortable turning back around? Somebody with their hand in the dirt on the defensive line or an off-ball linebacker? And when you look at that, excited about Falk because being in that 275, 280 range, he is strong as can be and can kick inside and play more of those interior positions versus just being a basic 5 tech, being able to hang at a 4-eye or even play some defensive tackle snaps. I think that's a strong one to consider. Having said all that, looking at both of them, I think there's enough linebackers in this class to swing back. And I think when you look at last year, they made the pick in the second round on Donovan Ezaraku, who they had some good production out of. I think it might be time to go in the first round. I'd take Falk here.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good pick. And the thing with Keldrick Falk is, like, fans going to have to understand you're not getting an instant pass rusher. You're getting an excellent defender. You're getting an athlete on that line. You're getting versatility. I look at Keldrick Falk, and I think his career arc is going to be similar to Trayvon Walker over in Jacksonville. He's going to be a strong, solid run defender. Then he's going to turn into, a 5 to 7 type of sack guy, and then we'll see how he goes from there. But he's going to be one of those guys where his stats may not be all that gaudy, but his effectiveness on the field, you'll be able to see it because they'll be more stout against the run, and he'll hold up blockers, so the guys around him will have more production.
Yeah, and being next to Quinn Williams will help you be gaudy.
Definitely.
So have we been able to cover all the picks? We've done Loma, we've done McCoy.
Yes.
Yeah, looks like it. And
I'm just going to say really good job, because last week somebody said that we skipped talking about picks. So the fact that you guys haven't, awesome. So
cool.
There we go.
Steelers take Boston. Denzel Boston. So
EJ, where do you have Boston graded?
I have him. I think he's in my top 5 at wide receiver. Like, he's sneaky athletic. I like the way he fires off the line of scrimmage, and like his stride length. He covers so much ground. Strong at the catch point. Excellent size, like 6'4" in the 210-pound range. He's that guy. He's more of a straight line as far as running after the catch guy. He's not like your creative type guy, but that's fine because he can take a slant and he can get extra yards. He turns into a power back after the catch. But he's a guy that he can get downfield. He can get vertical. He has speed to beat guys. He has some hip sync to where he can snap off his routes, and he can be a short to intermediate type of receiver. So it's just that he's not that super twitchy route you up type of guy, but when you put the whole package together, he's a receiver that it's kind of similar to Malachi Fields we saw at the Senior Bowl, similar to that, where he's strong at the catch point. But I think he has a little bit more downfield juice than Malachi Fields does. But overall, a very good player. And like, depending on who's going to be playing quarterback for the Steelers, he's definitely going to be a very good option.
See, piggybacking what you said about some of that wiggle and being able to be more horizontal versus just kind of a vertical runner downfield, pairing him with DK, a name I've really liked. I feel sound in saying I think it's receiver for Steelers there at 21. Even though there is some corner need, you can come back with a corner 2 opposite Joey Porter. I like Concepcion there in Pittsburgh to have that wiggle downfield paired with DK. I think that the value is there at 21 with him and the game that he plays, a little more of that spark, being able to be a downfield threat, but also in the short to intermediate, just being able to have such an easy release to the athlete. That's another name that could have gone there. Transition to 22 with the Chargers. I love that person took McDonald because of what I just said about how I've had McDonald a lot to the Jets at 16, and Harbaugh was looking so excited about Banks as a potential at 22. So really, that was nice for the flow of this draft. I think for those 2 spots, those 2 guys have those circled in Sharpie on the short list.
That was Chris, who is draft professor, and he is a Chiefs fan, so he's intimately familiar with what the Chargers need. So,
nice,
Chris, I will echo what Clint said. That was a really good pick because McDonald wasn't going to get past Buffalo. That being said, go ahead.
I'm saying I love Caden McDonald. He's one of the guys I had circled in the summertime. I thought he was going to be a breakout player, and sure enough, he did. Like instant run stopper. Plug him in at your nose tackle or your zero technique, and like he's ready to go.
So EJ, you want to talk through the Eagles board at pick 23?
Yeah. So the Eagles, and excellent, good news. Yesterday they finally finally hired an offensive coordinator. So thank God for that. But first and foremost, what the Eagles need is offensive line help. That's the real reason why our offense struggled this year. So I'm looking at offensive line. Like, I mean, I've said this before. I'm looking at offensive line first and foremost, and like I look at offensive tackle Caden Proctor. You know, so I think you can plug him in at guard for 1 year if you want to, and then kick him outside when Lane Johnson retires. Immediate depth on your offensive line, which you need, and like pretty much he's that type of guy he can move bodies. The issues with his weight, he's going to have to. They're going to have to be on him about his weight, but that's nothing new. The Eagles have dealt with it with players like that before, so they have a good strength and conditioning program. They can keep these guys in line, and plus he's going to one of the best offensive line coaches in the league. So right here, I would take Caden Proctor,
and that's over Sadiq and Fano.
Yeah, yep.
See, and I agree as well as going with somebody with size, whether it's offensive or defensive line. I just don't see the Eagles not taking somebody that's 300 plus pounds, even though it's become a little popular, say, that they're like a corner in that spot. I think they come back round 2. I would very quickly go back and just say on McDonald that there's no one out there that's got him higher as far as a board spot. I've got McDonald as a top 12 player in the class in that 10 to 12 gap. And I know that's a little hot, but I just think as far as safest players in this draft, you're going to look up in 7, 8, 10 years, and he's still going to be a great run defending interior in this league. I think that was an idiot-proof pick for the Chargers, particularly as well coaches will be. And I love DJ's mention as far as the Eagles. Like, dude, could you imagine getting to go, in my opinion, the best offensive line coach in the league in Stoutland and Philly? I mean, that'd be a dream spot for Proctor. It couldn't go any better for him. And the Browns in this draft took a tackle at that 6 pick, but if they didn't, I think you could about auto lock them to do it at the pick right after you.
Yeah, and to answer the comment about 3 offensive tackles in development, what 3 tackles? Because you got the likes of Miles Hinton, maybe a Cameron Williams. No, I'm not. That's not really something I'm going to be banking on, and I'm get a talent like Cater in the first round. So he if he becomes a guard, then he becomes a guard. Like I don't see much of a downside whether he plays tackle, whether he plays guard. I don't think he's just going to be a backup for his entire career. So I see starter upside. It's just that he has to get to it. So yeah, definitely I'm not passing on Caden Proctor because we have what we already have on the roster.
Jim, you got any chats to throw out there while we wait on the Browns pick?
Yeah, so there was a comment about why did the Steelers not take a quarterback?
I think it's just a matter
of thoughts as to what Pittsburgh should have done at pick 21.
I think as far as, I think it's pretty universal Ty Simpson's QB2, assuming that Trinidad Chambliss is back at Ole Miss, and maybe even if he isn't. I think for them, I think they are high on Will Howard, 5th-round pick out of Ohio State, who had a strong rookie year developing behind Aaron Rodgers. It's just a question of how much more upside do you see in this QB2 versus what you already have in your building a year in Howard? So I think the Steelers' answer to that, were they not to take a quarterback, there would be, we feel good about what we have in Howard versus who we were looking at on the board in relation to our board there. It'll be interesting to see, say like round 2, how the board looks, if they want to take a shot and get some competition in there. And who's to know what they do in free agency? I don't know, but I think knowing what we know now, the response to that would be that they didn't see enough upside, say, in Simpson versus what they have in Howard in-house.
I'm still waiting.
Okay, so apparently I missed the Browns pick. So I'm looking for it. I haven't seen it yet. And just so everybody knows, every once in a while, if I pick a player that's wrong, I tend to hear about it, and then that person doesn't want to participate. So I try not to pick. I don't see the Concepcion pick for Michael Krause. So Michael Krause, if you are listening, the Browns are on the clock. So Steve, I see your comment. I don't see where the pick is in the chat. Oh, there he is. Okay, I see it. Okay, my apologies, but I'd rather pause and take a moment. Okay, Casey Concepcion at pick 24. What do you guys think?
Good player. I mean, I'm a really big fan of him as a wide receiver. Another guy I see as a 3-level threat. You look at him in the role that he can play on an offense. You look at a guy like Zay Flowers. You look at a guy like the guy that they have with the Chargers. He's a 3-level threat, run after the catch. You like the separation that he has. He's a natural separator. Quickness, speed, lateral quickness. Only issue is, I think he had like 7 drops in 2024, 5 the year later. So you're gonna have to keep an eye on the drops, but he's a guy that you can do whatever you want to on the football field. He's a mismatch. Either he can run routes out of the slot, he can get off the line of scrimmage, so he can play the Z. So he's at inside-outside versatility. So he'll definitely be a good weapon for Shedeur Sanders over there.
Well, I think too, it's translatable with Monken calling the plays and being the new head coach coming from Baltimore. You mentioned Zay Flowers as far as we use Concepcion. I also think as far as how we have this board laying out, similar to how I said a while ago about the Jets and Chargers, you could have flipped Banks and McDonald and it would have been just fine. I kind of feel that way about the Steelers and the Browns here as far as Boston and Concepcion, because I mean you could have thrown Boston here at pick 24 in that room with Jerry Jeudy and the rest of that Cedric Tillman and have a lot of size and somebody who'd be ready to go day one. I mean, I think definitely having gone offensive line with that, I get a receiver in that room, particularly, and this isn't even necessarily me commenting on Shedeur, but I do think it's factual. He's not a top 15 quarterback in the league right now. He's got to have some tool. Like, this isn't a guy who can just be like your Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers of the world that can just make chicken salad out of chicken shit. Like, he's got to have some tools. They've got to go receiver there with one of those two guys around. Yeah. So with Boston off the board, I think that was a great pick.
Yeah. So, and then we got Chicago taking
I'm
CJ
on the clock
Allen
for Buffalo, and I just want to compliment everybody drafting because you've officially sniped near every player that I wanted to take. So, John, you took CJ Allen a pick.
I really wanted Allen to the Bills. It's funny you mentioned
Shame
that.
on you. But I wanted Caden McDonald before I wanted Allen. So, Chris, you did a good job sniping. The Denzel Boston to Pittsburgh, that would have been another player I would have taken for Buffalo. So Buffalo's kind of in a pickle here, right? So we do need a downfield receiver. But I don't know that that's Surratt or Bernard. Now, like Randall and Owen will take Surratt here. But I haven't heard enough on the scouting report for Surratt to say that Buffalo would be getting a wide receiver which can separate. Right?
No,
so
it's
Buffalo
not.
needs two things. Either a wide receiver that separates or you have to get vertical and attack all 3 levels of the field.
I mean, I will say for Surratt, though, that is something roughly like 80% of his catches are first downs. He's somebody that averages 13 to 15 yards per catch. It seems like all those back shoulder catches he has, he is a chain mover. I think at 26 with the guys off the board, that might be a little rich, and you swing back around. I also could see a little bit of fear in Brandon Beane to, quote unquote, reach a little for receiver with all this blood on his hands about Keon Coleman. I think right there, a question I'd toss out there is, do you look at some of these other surging defensive interiors like the Lee Hunter, Darrell Jacksons of the world and say, like, man, we're just going to throw one of these guys in here and see what they do? Or do you look at an Anthony Hill Jr. out of Texas as a linebacker that's got a lot of rushing ability to spark that room? I mean, you might walk out of this pick feeling like you went a few picks early on somebody, but the board is what it is.
Well, yeah. So it took me a minute. I appreciate the filibuster there, Clint. So this to me is probably between Anthony Hill and Avion Terrell. So here's the issue, right? So Taron Johnson, I think he's going to be a cap casualty. I don't think he's playing to the level of his contract. And Avion Terrell might be the best slot corner in the league. Dorian Strong, his career might be over. So he was a corner that we took day 3 last year. He actually started the season for Buffalo. He was one of Buffalo's starting corners on opening day. I think I'm going Avion Terrell here because I'm saying that Taron Johnson will not be on the roster.
And I think that's a safe pick, going back to what I said about, being a little hesitant. Terrell, people talk about, he's more in that 180, 185 range. He'll be a guy that'll go to the combine and hang a 4.3, 4.4 flat. He's got the pedigree with his brother, obviously, with my Falcons. And, too, you look at his ball production. He had something crazy this year, like 4 forced fumbles, even at that size. He's constantly getting the ball on the ground as far as being a playmaker. A lot of versatility as far as being able to play nickel at that size, but I also think he can hang at boundary. For a team that's got some secondary needs, you could get a ton of mileage out of them.
Okay, so EJ, you want to take a stab at San Francisco here at 27 because they don't have a GM.
Okay. So, the team is just so banged up. Can we draft a doctor for him? Let's see. Let's see. Okay. Well, I guess you got to go Kenyon Sadiq here. George Kittle just tore his Achilles, and even if he makes it back healthy, you can have a good 1-2 punch right there. You got another weapon for Brock Purdy.
I'd toss out there if I were to give a thought. Man, I'm looking at some of those tackles on the board. I think with the aging Trent Williams, they've got multiple needs on the offensive line. If you had somebody that could play some guard, could play tackle developmentally, like Steve in the chat right there is mentioning Fan Out. I think that's a good pick. I think Monroe Freeling in that wide zone Shanahan offense would be nasty. I think Caleb Lomu's got a lot of upside. So totally get the Sadiq pick. I think it's great value at 27. If he was there at 30, I think the Broncos would be eating him up with a spoon. But, man, I think those are a couple names, too, you could have thrown as another option. It's funny for them to have the needs listed there as safety, defensive tackle, receiver, and then offensive tackle. I think I'd bump tackle up even more than that. You come back and get safety in the second or the third. I think there's enough defensive interiors to do so as well. And the receiver board just isn't there considering guys have gotten sniped.
Yeah, and the person who runs the simulator may need to update the team needs. I'm just saying that guy's a slacker. So the Texans are on the clock. Brandon, tell us what you're thinking. Oh, you're finally here. Okay.
It's got to be somebody with a wide ass.
So Brandon is on every Draft Professor podcast. You show up every single podcast twice a day, Brandon. I am psyched that you finally get to draft for your team. So, okay. And then who was it, EJ or Clint that was drafting for the Rams?
I did last time, yeah. So I guess I'll jump back in for the Rams. And
they did Lemon and at the top.
While he's looking at the Rams, I could comment on Pregnon to the Texans. I said wide ass, buddy. You could park my Honda Accord on Pregnon. Guy's huge. Would come in immediately with D'Amico and know how to hit the ground running. They've got to have some interior help. Say what you want about Stroud. Dude, he's running for his life with that. They've had some swings and a miss on that interior, like a Juice Scruggs, for example. They've got to take another crack at it. Pregnon, USC transfer, has gained a lot of size in his college time. This dude is a built-up freak. I think that was a slam dunk, and I'd have made the same pick in that same spot.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And for the Rams, I'm looking at the cornerback position. I think that was one of the weaknesses on their team. Like they have a good pass rushing defensive line, but their cornerbacks can be had. I'm going to give the Rams Chris Johnson out of San Diego State. I like the way Chris Johnson, he plays. He can play like a lot of zone and a lot of off man. He can play. He can keep the ball in front of him, and that's how the Rams corners typically play. So I think he's a good fit right in for what they do on defense, and I think gives them a little bit more depth, a little bit more talent in that back end.
I tell you too, from just seeing him at the Senior Bowl. I mean, you want to talk about a guy that looks like a top 40 pick at corner, just in terms of his proportional build. His size. I mean, he's every bit of that 6'1", 190. You know, they've got some corners in there they've been getting a lot of mileage out of, like an Ahkello Witherspoon. You know, made the trade for Roger McCreary with the Titans. But they got to make an investment there. I'll tell you, if Terrell had been there, that's who Sean McVay would take.
Yeah.
I think that's a name that if he had been, they wouldn't have been able to say no. But of the corners that are there, I really like Johnson. I think you could have also thrown Colton Hood in there. But I think if you walked away from the Senior Bowl, that's an either or. That's a preference thing. It would be a great pick. But I think you had to take your pick of that litter.
I do think that Broncos pick was interesting because they don't need a tackle, but Luis was saying that's BPA. What do you guys think of Fano falling all the way to pick 30?
Yeah, I'm surprised he fell, but yeah, I mean, so at this point, you just got to go BPA. I think Broncos have a strong offensive line already, but I mean, it's never bad to have more talent on your offensive line.
I think in an ideal world, Peyton would like to take a pass catcher. I think when you look at some of their pursuit in the trade market for a receiver, they'd like to do that for Knicks. But with Sadiq gone, if Sadiq had been there, you got to take him. With Sadiq gone and the way the receiver board's kind of sitting with the Elijah Surratt, the Jeremy Bernards of the draft, I understand BPA taking Fano. I mean, I think nobody would have called you stoned if you took Fano in the top 15. That's a pick that a team in contention like this has the luxury of taking, just saying this is too good to pass up.
What do you guys think of Dunker at 31?
You know, I like Dunker. You know, obviously he's got a great mindset. He's physical, got a badass mullet, incredibly well coached coming out of that Iowa program that just, you know, breeds and raises offensive linemen. Yeah, I'm not personally 31st pick high on him. Think he's got a little slow foot speed, a little bit of stiffness in the lower body. I think that's something you could have maybe looked at later. And I think for me, it's just I'm looking around and I'm like, man, somebody look at a Monroe Freeling, somebody look at a Caleb Lomu as far as those just really athletic young tackles that have the length. You know, so many people talking about Will Campbell and those 32-inch arms kind of struggling on the left side. I mean, Fano could scratch his ankles standing up. Not Fano, excuse me, Freeling could scratch his ankles standing up. I would have thought of him. He's got in the last few years about 200 snaps at right tackle and then primarily starting at left tackle. But there's enough right tackle experience. That would have been who I would have been looking for. But, you know, look, I understand there are people out there higher on Dunker than I am.
Yeah. And the thing with Monroe Freeling is he's just scratching the surface of what he can be. He's a supremely athletic guy. First year starter. Redshirt sophomore. First year starter at Georgia. But like you see the movement ability at his size, like he's got a serious upside. And we see the Seahawks get Colton Hood. I anticipate they're probably going to move on from Reek Woolen in the offseason, so Colton Hood can be a replacement for that. I mean, they're sitting there, they're trying to recreate that Legion of Boom. They got Witherspoon there, you got at Colton Hood there, you got Nick and Manwari and at the nickel. They're out there. I mean, the rich just getting richer.
I tell you, and that Mike McDonald defense as well. Hood is somebody that got really oily hips, can really turn and run, great click and close. Got an incredible pedigree along the lines of like a couple uncles that played in the league. Got an uncle that played for the Raiders for about 8-9 years. It's a safe pick there. That's one that I'm commonly putting at that Seahawks spot. I would have made the same one.
So top of the first round, we got Ted Hurst. I think that's a little high for Ted Hurst, but I mean, he had a good Senior Bowl, and he's a hot name right now.
You know, I think it's a little high for Hurst, but you know, obviously excited about that. I'm in the Atlanta area. He plays at State. Had a chance to talk with him at the Senior Bowl. Was so interested in hearing him talk about head coach Del McGee, former Georgia Bulldogs running back coach, legendary high school coach out of Columbus High School here in the state. Hurst is somebody that's it's really flying high coming out of that Senior Bowl. I mean, I can just tell you, I got that interview, all joking aside, like walking off the field, about to walk up the steps, making us leave. I mean, he was really hard to get your hands on. But as an Atlanta guy, he was on my short list. I had to make it happen. But, I think that's exciting for him to go in that spot. And I think some of that might also be a little bit of an indictment on the fact that Chris Bell's injury, that would have been about an auto pick had he stayed healthy coming out of Louisville. With that kind of size, a guy that's in that 220 range, can run 4.4, 4.3 kind of speed, a lot of burst up the seams. So I get that. Now I'll say this: Ahinacor, Arizona, I love that shit. That's awesome. A guy that can come in opposite of Paris Johnson at left tackle, who's a top 10 pick investment they've made. I had a chance to interview Ahinacor as well. For him to have gotten in a couple fights at the Senior Bowl, he might have been the most soft-spoken, gentle, nice player that I talked to in interviewing. Just the definition of a turn the switch on player. I mean, you're talking about a guy that didn't start playing high school football. His school did not have a football program until then. Migrated from Nigeria. I mean, somebody that signed with East Los Angeles Community College. Yeah, ELCA. At 260, he told me. So, I mean, his body has just had a ridiculous transformation. He weighed in at 330 at the Senior Bowl, and he said that was a little heavy. He thought a little bit of that was water weight. He's more about 325. But with the upside there, I think he's got as much as anybody in this tackle class. Absolute. That is a slam dunk pick at 34 for Arizona. And I think that even more, they went with the kind of luxury pick here in this draft with Love. It's like, man, that's really adding some spark to that offense that they need.
Yeah, definitely. And Ahinacor, like, he still moves like he's 260. So he at the Senior Bowl, he moves so well. Only thing with him is he has to get his hand placement down. But that's coaching. You already saw the improvement from the film over the season, and at the Senior Bowl where his hands are, where he's shooting his hands at, you already saw the improvement there. So the sky's the limit for him. And then we had Chris Bell, and we see with the Titans, they're getting toughness at wide receiver. We got Alec Iomanner already on the roster. You got Chris Bell, and they got a guy that I like, Chamir DK. He's their speed guy, their gadget guy. So that, like, with those three, that's a nice little wide receiver room that they have down in Tennessee. AJ Halsey just went to the Texans. I mean, another guy playing deep safety behind that serious, ridiculous pass rush that the Texans got. I mean, you gotta love that. He's a guy with range. He's a guy you can play as a 2 high, you can play as a single high. And then right after that, we see the run on safeties now. Dylan Thieneman going back to the Browns.
Yeah, scroll back down, Jim, if you don't mind. Looking at some of those, I really like to mention as far as Chris Bell. You mentioned DK. I mean, the guy made the Pro Bowl as the return, the punt and kick return guy on the Pro Bowl as a rookie. I remember last year at the Senior Bowl, his twitch is incredible. And what you do with that addition is bumping him down a spot on the depth chart as far as strictly receiver. And he's definitely going to grade higher as, say, a receiver 3, receiver 4 versus where he was this last year. Like Manor, who came out of Stanford. They got a value pick on, incredibly physical guy as far as downfield. I think Bell's an exciting one there. Chase Basantis is physical as hell, man. I mean, you're talking about a guy that was a 5-star recruit at A&M. Mean run blocker, incredibly well coached, great hand placement. Got great dip in his hips. That's one for a team that's got to have some help on that offensive line interior. Yes. I think it also gives them the luxury of being able to put the name is escaping me. The center they got out of Oregon, who they've been playing at guard, that truly needs to be.
Oh, yeah. I forgot his name. What is his name? I forgot what his name is.
It's not clicking for me, right?
Yeah,
but you be able to kick him back to the correct spot and then have a guard there to take that as far as a wide ass in the run game. particularly with Mendoza. Jackson Powers Johnson, thank you. That was going to bug the hell out of me. It already was. Thank
Powers
you.
Johnson, Jackson Powers Johnson.
Yeah, that was bug. I was not going to remember that. Yeah, you mentioned Halsey at Texas.
Yep.
That's a guy that would have been a McVay style safety if that had been their choice there at the end of the first round. But I think that's appropriate value here at the top of the second. Halsey's one I would really like to have seen in Mobile. Physical as hell. I mean, he's every bit a 6 foot 222 rocked up guy. And when you look at the rest of that secondary, what that gives you the luxury of doing, Jalen Petrie, Kalen Bullock, Derek Stingley, Kamari Lassiter fits that brand as far as he does have ball skills, but he's going to be a thumper like the Lassiters of the world there. Jalen Petrie is one of my top 5 favorite players in this league with no bias or anything. He played at Baylor, plays for the Texans. I don't pull for either. That's really exciting pick. I mean, with D'Amico Ryans, are you kidding me? As far as Thieneman with Cleveland, he's undoubtedly the best cover 1 safety in this draft in terms of just the tape and the way he's graded out there. Runs the alley really well. Got some good run support, but his coverage ability, I mean, they got to get some bodies in there. I like that pick as well. Surratt to Kansas City, they've got the small, speedy guy in Worthy. They're going to want to get a receiver with some size, not to get into it, but I mean, let's get real. Rasheed Rice is a dumbass. Having somebody that's more of the show up all business.
Somebody you can count on.
Yeah, you can count on. I really like that. And cut me off in a second here. The Bengals, Emmanuel McNeil-Warren, to me, they got to go safety at this pick, particularly the way the board's sitting. I'm personally really high on Genesis Smith out of Arizona. Got incredible length, 204, really strong at that weight, good in run support. But I mean, I've already said it, but his length is just incredible. I think his ability to play the ball would be great. But, dude, I get it. I mean, I think McNeil-Warren is undoubtedly the consensus safety too. There's a lot of value there coming off of Halsey being picked to the Texans. But to me, I mean, dude, they got to get a safety there, particularly if Downs was already gone round 1 and they went defensive interior. I mean, between Woods and McNeil-Warren, you got 2 defensive starters for rookie contracts and beyond. Those are great picks.
Yeah, and then when Chris Brazzell going to the Saints, it looks a little high for Chris Brazzell, but that's a height, weight, speed type of pick. But he fits into what they do. They got a young quarterback with a good arm, so he can get down the field. If anything, he's going to start off as he's going to be your deep threat. He's going to stretch the field. They already have Chris Olave, and that he's gonna stretch the field for them. But I mean, I think it's a little bit high for Brazzell. He needs some more development as far as routes go. He's not your typical Tennessee receiver that can't run any routes, but he's more than that. But it's just going to take him a little bit to get further along as a route runner. But I mean, a 6'5", 200-pound guy that can get down the field like he can. If at the very least, he's going to keep your safeties honest. He's going to keep your safeties from dropping down into the box. And he's going to have some shot plays there for you. So he's a guy that early on he can be like he's a scheme type of weapon to where you can manipulate what the defense is going to do. But he's going to have his shot plays. So I see what they're trying to build over there in New Orleans.
I'll tell you too, I agree with you. It's a little rich for me, but I'll tell you, his red zone ability running whip routes, I mean, he's got that one down to a T, man. He's nasty at 6'5", 200, really start there, having some ankle bend. Got some good pedigree. His dad made it to the NFL, played some supplemental league football as well after that. And then his mother's brother played in the league multiple years. So there's obviously some familiarity there with the process and what it takes. A 2-lane transfer. I think some of his best football could be ahead of him with proper coaching, to your point, as far as some of that route running and the development of his tree. So, I mean, I get it. And they've had Rashid Shaheed get traded to the Seahawks, making a huge impact, particularly in the return game, as far as more of that burner. So I can totally understand why with Tyler Shuck you want to get him somebody like that. Oh, God. Whoever took Lee Hunter, you're an ass.
Yeah.
So that was JT.
Yeah, Lee Hunter would have been my pick at 48.
Yeah, I'm surprised he's still on the board.
Yeah, that's great value there. I'm gonna tell you, I had a chance to interview Hunter as well. I mean, he is a mammoth of a man, dude. He showed out in Mobile. You know, it was funny listening to him when I was talking about between now and draft time and then week one, where he really sees the most potential to kind of up his game. He said he wants to develop his pass rush moves. If you look at the most pressures this season among defensive linemen at 320 plus pounds, he was around 53 and second place was at 44. I mean, that much of a gap between him and the other one as far as pressure in the quarterback. To look like a run stuffer, he's got pass rushing ability. I mean, and you're talking about coming in with an aging Vita Vea in Tampa Bay. That makes the Falcon fan of me want to Ralph over here into a bucket. That was a great pick. Like, and as far as this draft and how it's sitting, I can prove and be a testament to the value there, because if he'd have been there at 48, I'd have taken Hunter.
Yeah, that's that's
what the hell,
pick.
man? I was going to take Daryl Jackson after that.
So, well, let me ask you guys a question, because like Daryl Jackson Jr. is, I don't want to say controversial, but there's some draft professors that have him in the top 50, and then there's other draft professors that say he's day 3. So, EJ, where does Daryl Jackson Jr. fall on your board right now?
So, like, I had him a little bit lower because the word on Daryl Jackson going through the season is he plays when he wants to. So there were some guys that questioned his motor. That's why he wasn't so highly regarded earlier on. But the thing with that is the tools are all there, and we saw it at the Senior Bowl. When he wants to turn it on, he's one of the best out there. So if you got a coach and an environment that can get that out of him on a daily, weekly basis, then you got yourself an excellent player. But just that, I had him a little bit lower. I had him like around as a third-round player, just for the simple fact that some of his efforts, some of his production is a little bit uneven.
Yeah, and I could kind of rapid fire because, we've had 2 or 3 picks we haven't gotten to. You go back up to Miami, Caleb Tiernan. I'm not quite that high on Tiernan, but there's plenty of people that are in that late 1, early 2, especially mid 2 spot. A guy that's got a lot of height. Don't think he's got incredibly long arms. But when you look at Miami, they've got to build foundational pieces on this team. We talked about the luxury of being able to take luxury picks. The damn sure are not that. I could definitely see that, especially with the Green Bay influence they have. They're going to go big bodies. Anthony Hill to the Jets, that's a common mock spot for him. A lot of pass rush upside as an outside backer. A guy that I think could sneak into the late round 1. I think the league could be higher than we are in media, in Twitter, et cetera, et cetera. That's a fun one. Zion Young to the Ravens, man. Talk about a Ravens brand player. I mean, he's every bit in those 260s, a lot of moves, been a riser in the process thus far. He did look good in Mobile. Totally get that one. I mean, Jesse Minter, he's going to want to get that defensive talent, get some guys with some size. They go with this program. I'm incredibly high on Minter. And following up on Daryl, I interviewed Jackson, and it's funny you say that. He said, I asked him, I was like, you played the Shrine Bowl and the Senior Bowl, man. Like, damn, that's a hell of an effort. And he was like, been hearing a lot of talk on me, and I had to come show some people that I'm willing to put in that effort, and I'm willing to come improve my. So I think for what you just said, he's heard some of those comments, and he's maybe heard that in the process from teams. For me, as far as the Falcons, I know it's my turn to take a pick here. It would have been hard for me to pass on Hunter or Jackson, just the fact that in this 3 Jeff Ulbrich defense, you look at some of the defensive talent in the building. David Onyemata, 12, 13-year vet who had a damn good year last year. He really did. Didn't get as much pub as he should have. But, I mean, it's more in that 3.0 something weight. So isn't really built for that nose tackle spot. They've also had to get some mileage out of Ruka Roro there as a second-year guy to Clemson that they took early round 2. But, I mean, you look at some of those names. Zach Harrison is a 275 kind of guy, good player. Root in the light 300s, heavy 290s. Onyemata aging out. You add those outside backer pass rushers, James Pierce Jr. coming off a 10.5 sack rookie year. Jalen Walker, second place among rookies in terms of sacks. I just think adding that big nose tackle just gives everyone proper role, proper spot, a lot of creativity for Ulbrich, opening up those linebackers like the Divine Diablo, potentially Ellis coming back of the world. So those would have been interesting. But playing the board as we have it, I got to take Jeremy Bernard out of Alabama here. I think he's 27 on your board here. I predict Clint drafts Bernard.
That was, and just for the record, that was at 7:58. It's 8:02. I predicted that one before Jackson was drafted. So
yeah, I think Bernard, about 6'2", 204, got plenty of speed for the position, a ton of production. Came out of that Washington program that had the likes of Roma Dunze, Jalen McMillan. There's one more name escaping me, forgive me. But I mean, for him to have been third or fourth in that room made a ton of sense. And even then, he had a 400 or 500 yard year with Michael Penix out there and Kalen DeBauer. Eventually followed DeBauer to Alabama. To pair him with Drake London and just be a clear cut receiver too, along with Darnell Mooney still in that room, I just think that's a seamless transition. Obviously, the familiarity with Penix as well from Washington, I think it's a real nice one. He's lived in this part of the country. Not that that's a big note. It's just kind of a nice toss in. I think the way the board lands, it's like you got to walk out of this second, third, fourth round pick with a corner. You got to walk out with a receiver. I'd like to get a defensive interior. They're going to be looking, with Bill Callahan coming in and bringing in some of this gap scheme for what has been a no doubt Shanahan-style wide zone running game. He's going to want somebody, I think, in that offensive interior with some more ass. So at this spot, I feel better looping back around at those positions in the third. We'll get to the third today, not the fourth, but in the real draft, the fourth. I don't think you can pass on Bernard there. I'd feel great walking out of there, and I think at 48, it's good value. And, like I said, to be going in there, you elevate that room drastically for a team that was trotting out the David Sills, respectfully, of the world last year. I'll play the board there. I like that.
Yeah, you got Genesis Smith going to the Vikings. I wonder how I guess whoever drafted that, they like Genesis Smith over the likes of Bud Clark or Jalen Kilgore, who I love, and Kamari Ramsey.
I'm telling you, man, I have Smith higher on my board than those guys. I've got him in that safety 2, safety 3 range with McNeil Warren. I could see it flip-flopping in the process, but right now, they're definitely – those are going to be my two guys there. And I already spoke on him, so I won't be repetitive as we're keeping pace here. But, man, I love that Kilgore mention you had. I'm telling you. Spoke with Kilgore there in Mobile. Great. I'm going to tell you something. He's cut up, dude. He is. He told me he played at 217 this year. He said he weighed in at 211, 212 at the Senior Bowl, but he said he purposely dropped 5 or 6 pounds trying to get in the 4.4 flat range in Indianapolis. But, he is so well built. He signed with South Carolina out of Eatonton, Georgia as a safety. Moved down to the nickel spot. Team need, real team player. But the versatility is there. When you take a team like Minnesota that's got multiple secondary needs, man.
So, Clint, I'd like to interrupt the podcast. We have a Logan Jones sighting to Detroit. I have been listening to Clint talk about Logan Jones for 2 draft cycles. Clint, take this one away.
Yeah, I definitely liked Logan Jones before it was cool. I'm not typically the person that victory laps or says, I was the first one there, but, fuck it. I'm going to right now. That's my one F-bomb for the episode. Logan Jones is literally, I think the kid could lift a Ford truck on his back. He's so strong. Really good feet to get out in space, get to the second level. And similarly to what I said about the Raiders earlier about getting to properly slot somebody, to have had played Ratledge some at center this year. That just locks him in at his more natural guard position. You're talking about Tate Ratledge, who signed with Georgia as a tackle out of high school as a top 50 recruit. Logan Jones in that Dan Campbell culture, like I said, with a Tate Ratledge, with a Panay Sewell, were they to add another tackle in here later on, that's a really fun pick. And hell, I mentioned center with the Falcons at 48. So as far as the positional value there, if someone were to think it's a little high, I don't even know about that. They just need a starter there. And look, what's your identity, Jahmyr Gibbs? Never going to go wrong investing in that. I really like that. I love the shout to me about Logan Jones. Logan Jones over Slaughter. I'll get to that a little later because I do feel strongly about Slaughter as well.
Yeah, he had a good Senior Bowl.
Interviewed Slaughter when I was down there, and I'm going to tell you, as far as a singular quote, he was my favorite when I got there, talking about the potential of playing with the Falcons. I told him that he's my preference for the Falcons pick. I think his balance between gap and zone schemes, his intelligence, his experience, the build that he has, his body, the ability to play day one, the durability. I think he's the guy I would want for the Falcons. And I mean, man, he lit up about Bill Callahan, talking about Eric DeCastro, his assistant offensive line coach at Florida, is a disciple of the Callahan tree, and just really talked about the film study, the technique, the ability to answer any question. I think that's somebody that Callahan could geek out about and look at Stefanski and Ian Cunningham and be like, I want this cat. I want this cat.
And I want to throw in something on like Logan Jones, Jake Slaughter, Brian Parker Jr., Connor Liu. So one of the things that we discussed when we were breaking down offensive linemen is that there's really a tier here of the day two centers. And just because you may have a player as the third ranked center, a lot of these guys are scheme specific. So you're not necessarily going to ask Parker Brailsford to do the same things you're going to ask Connor Liu or Jake Slaughter to do. Different teams are going to have different centers as their top center on their board based on whether or not they run more power, gap, or outside zone.
And I could even jump in that, having just mentioned my Falcons, if it had been retained Dwayne Ledford, who I think is one of the best offensive line coaches in this league, a phenomenal hire by Jesse Minter in Baltimore. Ledford's gonna lean on that wide zone, and with that can get away with a guy that's more of a 290-pound center. Brailsford is a Washington transfer that followed DeBauer to Alabama, similarly to how I discussed about Jeremy Bernard. So the familiarity with Michael Penix would have been interesting there too. But I think with Bill Callahan coming into town and Stefanski and a lot of that gap scheme they bring, he doesn't have to ask for it. I mean, he's 290. He's 290. I think he's going to be 290 tomorrow. I think he's going to be 290 in 4 years. That's what he is. You take him knowing that he needs to go to, say, a San Francisco of the world for him to have his best shot with his talent. I mean, the guy's feet are incredible getting to the second level. He plays bigger than that 290 in terms of he does see contact and to go help others. So, no, that's a great point you made, Jim. I mean, as far as this is a strong center class, but there's going to be teams that have this guy as their number one center, and then the next team would have had him at 5, and this team would have had him at 2, and this team would have had him at 7. That's really going to be a preferential position here.
Yep. And then, EJ, you are back on the clock at 54 for the Philadelphia Eagles. So talk us through.
Yes. All right, so what I'm looking at now is nobody touched the tight end position in the second round, I don't believe. So I'm looking at tight end position, and I'm looking at the cornerback position. I know my guy Jalen Kilgore is still on the board too, and I absolutely love him. But what I'm going with Oscar Delp. I mean, I'm high on Oscar Delp at the tight end position. From what I believe is there was something going on with that offensive scheme in Georgia that led to his lack of production there. When you look at the athlete that Oscar Delp is, former rugby player, you can see when you watch him move, you watch the running ability. He has the speed to threaten downfield. He has to change the direction. What the Eagles did, they ran a lot of 12 personnel. They ran a lot of 13 personnel. That's exactly what Georgia did. They ran a lot of 12 and 13 personnel. So there's no issue there blocking. He can be a move blocker. He can be a combo blocker. I'm not sure. I'm not going to leave him against defensive ends by himself year one. But he has the mentality and he has the ability to develop that. And in my ideal world, we'll keep Dallas Goedert for at least one more year, and we'll have that tandem. So that way, Delp can be, he can be grandfathered into that position. But I like the upside of Oscar Delp, and I like the upside with Philly.
Yeah, Jim, scroll up a few picks. I think we went past a few. Yeah, I could quick fire some of these. Abney to Carolina. I love a DB there. We've said Kilgore. We sound like the Kilgore show tonight.
Yeah, right.
I think He's a name that fan base likes a lot there with a couple of secondary needs. But, I mean, Abney, I'm really high on. I think he's a top 5 corner in this class. You're talking about a guy definitely in the 190s, 6 foot range, well built, physical. And, I mean, excellent footwork, well coached. I mean, Arizona State's got a good number of players, man. You got to give it to Dillingham and them. I mean, people know he's from Arizona State. It's like, dude, they got players. And
a lot of players.
I tell you, too, I mean, you mentioned the footwork. This guy was like a 3-time national champion winning speed skater. Oh, yeah, that's some good geeking out right there. Mention that. Digging that. That's some good geeking out. But, I mean, it's just the truth. I mean, I'll say this from the Falcons' perspective. If Carolina got him at 51, I'd be going, damn, that was a good pick. I mean, that's a really good pick. To put him out there as a corner 2 opposite J.C. Horn and to have the reliability of him with Horn's frequent injuries, that's an exciting one. Julian was my guy. Interviewed him in Mobile. Great dude. Good size to him. He's a Fresno, California product. Played at Fresno State. Nearly signed with Stanford in the transfer portal. Ended up at Arkansas. Had a really strong year, and I'm gonna tell you, if we talked about the fits, and I've said a couple, 2-3 guys where I'm like, that is literally the perfect team he could have gone to. He's Packersy. Brian Moffield uses the term Packersy. Man,
oh yeah.
I mean, in terms of their thresholds with size at the position, them
you
needing a body in there. Oh yeah, dude. I mean, that is awesome. That is a phenomenal pick for whoever took him there for the Packers. I would have done the exact same. He could have gone to my Falcons at 48, and I'd have been smiling with him as a corner 2, being out there with D. Alford, man, in that spot in the rotation opposite A.J. Terrell. That if you looked at player, scheme, team, cultural threshold fits, that's a top 3 fit in the 53, 54 picks we've done.
Yep.
Okay, so we're back on the clock for the 49ers. They took Sadiq in round 1. This is their round 2 pick.
Take a tackle.
Yeah, so the tackles that are there are Isaiah World, Blake Miller. EJ, where are you on Blake Miller, Isaiah World, or any other tackle you would consider for the 49ers at 58?
Yeah, for the 49ers, I mean, Blake Miller would be a decent fit. I mean, I don't mind Jude Bowery either. He's like a little twitchier, a little bit smaller than the other guys, but I think Blake Miller has some upside. Isaiah World, he's an athlete, but I think he's more work that he needs to be done on his technique wise. If they're willing to put in the work, they could gladly draft him. But I mean, Blake Miller, I think he would be a fit over there in San Fran.
And Clint, where do you have Blake Miller on your board?
I'll tell you, man, there's a lot of buzz on Miller coming out of Mobile. I heard plenty of people that said he's in their tackle 1, tackle 2, tackle 3 discussions. I mean, you're talking about a guy with 54 starts at Clemson, never missed a game, never missed a snap, tough as shit, mean streaks, seeks violence, built to that right tackle position, locked in. I think it would be a great fit with that Shanahan wide zone scheme. Even if I were to tell you that some of the other tackles I might be more interested in, just no team, look, just a generic board. I mean, that's a great fit for San Fran. I like that. It's like I said a second ago about just take a tackle. When you're looking at the positions we have left on this board and the talent available at them, there's too much tackle talent to not cash in on one. You got to take a swing. You got to take a swing. I love that. I could go quick. Could you scroll up a hair, Jim? Trying to hit all of them. Christian Miller to the Bears. I mean, dude, I'll be honest. I've had him as high as them at 25. I think as far as the fit, culturally and schematically, and in terms of who they already have, man, he'd be awesome there. I mean, kind of that Grady Jarrett interior role, 305 or less pounds. I mean, they could even, the way that they run it, they could take one of those big wide-ass nose tackles like a Caden McDonald, a Dom Orange, a Lee Hunter, a Daryl Jackson. I just love taking a defensive interior there. The board was too good not to. Love that one. Kamari Ramsey to the Jags. And I think he's more talented. He's more talented, more experienced than when they took Caleb Ransaw round 3 last year. This is kind of what they were trying to do with that pick. Somebody that they project as a safety, but does have nickel experience, production on the ball. I think if they could trade it now, that fan base would like to take my Falcon Xavier Watts, but they did what they did. Thanks. But I'll tell you, I liked Ramsey and Mobile in that defense, and I believe the pick before was Darren Moore. Man, that's a really good fit for him in that hardball defense. That's a really good fit. That's somebody that I could see the league being higher on than media, just in terms of he might pop more on the tape in terms of his technical skills, production, availability, versus say just necessarily the stat sheet. He's every bit of 265, built rock solid. That's a couple good picks right there. I like this.
Yeah, and Harbaugh was going to go get his guy. And the thing with Derek Moore is
good point.
It's not just the pass rush. It's against the run. He sets a hard edge. She shows up against the run. So you have a every down player with this guy. So it's not just he's just your strictly a pass rusher. He's a 3 down type of player. He's that type of guy that he's going to set the foundation for your defensive line. That's really what the appeal is with Derek Moore. He gives you the pass rush ability, but he also gives you that toughness, that physical presence on your defensive line.
I tell you, Jim, you just highlighted with your cursor Jake Golday out of Cincinnati. The popular spot I've had him is Indianapolis in round 2. For them to have gone with the Darrell Jackson pick, and that was a good pick. I like it. They've got a blatant linebacker need. You're talking about a guy that signed out of high school. The name is escaping me. I believe he signed with Arkansas State, Central Arkansas, something along those lines, as a strictly an edge. A guy that's every bit in the 250s. Great burst, good bend, stays low, good pad level, fastest, athletic as hell. Been a real riser in this process. I think the league is going to be higher than media. I'm very high on Golday. So that's random, but your cursor just highlighted him and it made me think about that. I was going to mention him with the Colts pick, that I think that's who I would have taken at 47 with the Colts. So that's another fun name that's still out there.
Yeah. I was wondering when the running back run would start. I see the Texans took Jonah Coleman. I figured that's a good fit for them. They need something like that in their running game. I almost thought they would take Jadarian Price there, but Jonah Coleman, he's an excellent fit to go along with the. I forget they got the running back from Mississippi State last year. He's a good receiver out of the backfield. Jonah Coleman can be that bowling ball for you. He's going to get you the tough yards.
You talking about Woody Marks?
Yes, Woody Marks. Yep.
Yeah, Woody Marks out of Southern Cal. He's somebody that, I've said a time or two here about bumping somebody to an appropriate depth chart spot. He's strictly been that one for him this year. Would really like to see him be a committee back. Because to your point, he's phenomenal receiver. And when you look at, Jonah Coleman, this is a power back. This guy's built like a bowling ball. Jim was joking earlier about me talking about Logan Jones. I've been like that with Jonah Coleman this long. Former Arizona running back, very well built. Would have liked to have seen him in Mobile as well. For the need there, it's kind of like what they've been trying to get as much mileage as they can out of an aging out Nick Chubb. That's what you get here. To your point, I love the Jadarian Price mention as well. That could just be a matter of preference. I'll tell you another name coming out of Mobile that could have been there. That damn Mike Washington out of Arkansas is a dog.
Oh God, I love him.
He a dog. Dude.
Love that guy.
He a dog.
Yeah. He can play. He can play.
He's every bit.
He can play for my team any day of the week.
He's every bit 5'11", 228. And you want to talk about burst, dude. I mean, there were times he was the best player on the field out there in those practices at Mobile. Flashy, great receiving out of the backfield. To be the second receiving back paired with Marks, I'd have considered him there too. But what did I say earlier about you took Miller to San Francisco a pick ago, and I said the tackle board is just too good to not cash in on one here. That's how I feel about the running backs here for the Texans, having gone with Pregnon in the first. I mean, you talk about establishing in between the tackles on this offense to add Emmanuel Pregnon and Jonah Coleman. That's a great pick for whoever's picking for the Texans.
Owen and I are doing a thing, so you guys can keep talking about other players if you want. Or you can try to predict what Buffalo will do. I don't know what Owen's thinking, but
I as far as mentioning Buffalo, you've got go to the general board instead of the receivers, please. Dude, you're gonna laugh at me. Freaking Kilgore sitting there, man.
Still sitting there. I mean, Omar Cooper Jr. would be a fit if you wanted like a separator type of guy.
So the discussion within Buffalo is what's the best way to play Cole Bishop. So we think Cole Bishop is best in the box. Mm-hmm. So that would mean that we would want a safety that's going to play over the top, which is not Kilgore. So, right. So
in an ideal world, you'd want to be going back to what I said about Dylan Thieneman as the best cover one safety in this draft who went to the Browns. Yeah, I see.
Right. And if we went Terrell to play the slot, Kilgore would be duplicate to the same position on the field. So if we didn't go Terrell in round 1, Kilgore in round 2 would look much better.
You mentioned Omar Cooper Jr. too. I mean, you're talking about a guy that is in that like 14, 15 yard per catch range. His body control is elite. His feet, as far as getting in bounds, is elite. A guy who's coming out a year early, getting some youth to be able to have some duration there on that contract. Really like Cooper. Has played in some cold. He's an Indianapolis native. Played in Indiana all 4 years of college. So that could be translatable for him. He is the best, I think, statistically yak player of this receiving class in terms of force missed tackles. Tough, turns into a running back kind of build. That's a great mention as well.
Okay, so we are back on the clock for the Rams in round 2. So the Rams in round 1 we did Mekhi Lemon and Chris Johnson, and we are back on the clock as podcasters and admins for the Rams here, pick 61.
I'd pull up the tackles.
World, Bowery.
You take a swing at Isaiah World here, see if they can coach him up.
I just think World's a third round or later player. I think especially for a team like the Rams who are contenders every year, I just wonder if it's like, let's get somebody ready to roll.
So, I mean, this is pick 61. We're 3 picks away from round 3.
Yeah. And when do they? Yeah, and will they have an opportunity to pick again close in this draft? But if you're going to be, I mean, for me, it's between Isaiah World and if you're going to be PA, Josiah Trotter is still on the board. So
pick one of those two. Gold Day's another name you could throw out there. I could see fitting in that defense. They've had Nate Lamon, gotten a lot of mileage out of him. Lamon's about a half step slow. Gold Day, the speed would definitely be an upgrade, but you also get that with Trotter. I mean, Trotter's going to be a great pro. Nobody's got to be an expert to know who his dad is, and he's got a brother in the league.
Yeah, I'm going Trotter. I'm gonna take Trotter here for the Rams.
I'm cool with that.
Cool. So we are about to close it. So got everybody in the chat. You guys are doing a great job of getting picks in quickly. We're making great progress. We've got about 35 picks to go. So
who did we have the Broncos go with round 1? Fan out. I'll tell you, there's some off-field concerns more along just the attitude department here. But I mentioned earlier the pass catcher bus. And Michael Trigg, tight end out of Baylor, would be badass with Sean Payton. I mean, talking about a guy with elite hands, athleticism, Ole Miss transfer. He's had a game here, game there, suspension for disciplinary reasons. But I'll say this, if anybody could be asshole enough to hang with him, it'd be Sean Payton. I think as far as day one receiving ability, he could come in. But what did I say earlier about they've been active in seeking another receiver? I mean, look at some of those receivers on the board we're talking about. Omar Cooper Jr. That'd be nice there as well, too, for what they need. I mean, I think here they went Trigg. All right, fair enough. I think you just had to take a pass catcher there for Bo Nix to add in there. I think that's good value and a perfect fit. If Trig was like my son, I'd be like, man, Denver would be awesome.
Yeah. Now, are we going to get some weapons for Drake May at pick 63 here? Yeah, I had to do it. He was sitting right there. I had to get him.
So Randy's on the clock, and then Seattle is up next.
Patriots went round 1.
Oh, what? They went Colton Hood.
No, they went Dunker.
Dunker. Yeah, Seahawks went Colton Hood.
I mean, haven't done receiver. Haven't done offensive line already. I was going to say either be edge or receiver. Lawrence has got freakishly good length. They're talking about like 35-inch arms. Got kind of in that 6'4", 250, 255 range out of UCF. A lot of speed, a lot of upside. If anybody could work with it, it'd be Vrabel. I think that's an exciting pick. He's kind of a Colt prospect, CULT. As in, you got some people that are stupid high on him and really into him there. That's one that I really want to see what they do round 3 swinging back. Because I think at that point it's going to be like, dude, you got to look at this receiver board and try and get somebody in there. Stephon Diggs isn't going to be there forever. Drake May is the franchise. But, no, I totally get it. I would have totally gotten a Malachi Lawrence there. I would have totally gotten an Omar Cooper Jr. there.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't remember who had Seattle. I will make an admin pick in about 30 seconds if the pick doesn't come in.
Yeah, Seattle is a team. You look at them, all of a sudden they got a loaded roster.
Okay, so admin pick here. What kind of wide receiver do we put opposite JSN?
Malachi Fields.
Oh, there we go. Pick came in.
The pick came in.
Thank you.
Romello Height is one going into Mobile. I was really interested to see his size and how it compared to the rest of the group. Weighed in at 237. The main thing I can tell you is he's got plenty of size in relation to other guys in the class. Is when I say that his midsection, you could bounce a quarter and get 50 cents back off of it. I mean, that dude's probably got a shredded six-pack creeping up on 240. A lot of athletic ability as a rusher. I would have liked either Cooper or Fields there as well. They went the next 2 picks, but Height would not have lasted much longer. And I think it's comfortable and fair to say that McDonald would want to go defense and somebody in that front 7 that can get after the quarterback. I'm interested to see what they do with Boy Mafe going forward on that edge. So that's an interesting one. And, cut me off if you want to. But as far as Malachi Fields at 65, he's somebody very much on the short list for the Falcons. I think for the Falcons, as far as scout visits, the Falcons did not visit any team more than they did Notre Dame this year. So there's obviously an interest when you look at who they do have personnel-wise. He looked really good at the Senior Bowl. I mean, he's every bit of 6'4". I don't have the weight complete, 200 plus. I mean, he's got the size. Really good in the short part of the field as far as his release. He catches everything. But, I mean, I'll tell you, he had the catch of the day 2, from Taylor Green at Arkansas down the seams. I mean, that thing was awesome. I got a great clip of that. I mean, you put him in that room in Arizona with Marvin Harrison Jr. Michael Wilson had a really strong end of the year. A guy that they developed very well. That's some spooky size in that room for whoever they do get going at quarterback. And when you look at who this person has taken in this draft, they've gone offensive heavy, which they need to.
Those were all 3 of those were me for the Cardinals. So that was
okay.
So,
Yeah.
EJ, you are on the clock at pick 68 for the Eagles. You want to talk through what's going on?
Yeah, I know exactly what I want to do. I'm adding to the safety position. Reed Blankenship is an unrestricted free agent, and is a guy I like at the safety position. As much as I would like to take Jalen Kilgore, I'm going to take Bud Clark because you're pairing him with the rookie they got from Texas last year. You got two ball hawks in that backfield. You go along with Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean. I know corner is a need. I'm going to address that. Don't worry, Eagles fans, don't spaz out. But Bud Clark is an excellent talent there, and I like the mentality that he plays with. He has that mentality where he's going to be an antagonist and he's going to be feisty, and we love that type of guy here in Philadelphia. So. And not to mention the range that he has, the range and the ball skills. So now I've built in the back of our defense. I've got two different safeties that can serve as a cover one if they need to. So and then when you're doing split safety, like their range and their click and close ability is going to be extremely fast. So I think that's an excellent fit in Philly's secondary.
The mention you had as far as Texas, Andrew Makuba, Clemson transfer.
Mm-hmm.
Got a lot of range in himself. You would be making that the identity of your back end. Totally get that one. And I think what I said earlier about 3 or 4 picks about the board was just too good. It's like you look at some other names that were there at safety. I'm high on Sakeem Wheatley out of Penn State. He's another one you could have had on there. A guy that came into the Senior Bowl at about 197, 198. I saw his proportional build, and I think the guy looks like he's about 205. Mm-hmm. That's another name you could have thrown out there. I agree with you on Kilgore as far as what you already have in the building. So I think that's a great pick. And as far as Bud Clark, I mean, the guy has 15 career interceptions at TCU. Yeah. I mean, the ball production is insane. He took over day 2 and day 3 of the Senior Bowl. He's listed at 185. He's definitely 185 with a wet towel around him. But he plays the ball so well. That's what you're taking him for. And they've got physicality at other spots in that secondary, and Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean. That's a fun one. I know he personally would have to be thrilled to go into a Fangio defense. And play that role.
Mm-hmm.
Who were some of the other recent picks you had out there, Jim? I think we missed 2 or 3.
Omar Cooper Jr. To the Titans and Will Lee to the Raiders.
I'll tell you, whoever had the Titans pick, going Chris Bell and Omar Cooper Jr., definitely want some size in that room. That would become your identity with A.M. Manor.
Those were admin picks. And if you draft Chris Bell and you have Cam Ward, you're going to need another wide receiver anyway.
Well, and with Dayball.
They're deep in that wide receiver room now.
Will lead the third to the Raiders. A guy with a lot of size at the position. Definitely 200-plus pounds. Got press ability. They got to get a body in there. They got to get a body. I mean, the only one I could even think of on that roster is Jack Jones. They got so many multiple needs. You went offense with Mendoza and Chase Basantis. It was definitely time to go defense, and I think particularly at the corner spot. So I think position-wise, that was a lock. You had to do it. And if that's who you wanted there, I totally get that one. So a good couple picks here in a row.
So Brandon is phoning a friend. He wants an admin discussion on who are the best centers available for Houston here. Brian Parker Jr., Connor Lew are both available, and Jake Slaughter is also available.
I just think with their brand as an offense and D'Amico Ryans, but then with what they have as an offensive line and where they're going, I'd go for more of the big mauler a little bit. You got Ariante Ursery's a big hit in the second round at that right tackle spot. They've had the past years of Laramie Tunsil at left tackle, but then you look at the interior. You just took Pregnon as the bust-sized guard. Looking at the other guys in there, I mean, I think one exciting thing about Brian Parker, the second, is talking about a guy that's played tackle, was recruited as a center to Duke, played tackle his time there, but has been adamant at the Shrine Bowl taking center snaps, saying that he can play guard as well, that he knows that's a big part of his selling point is this versatility. For a team with multiple offensive line needs, I think he could definitely be a great option, someone they could get a ton of mileage out of. But I also really like Slaughter there with some really great size and ability to play any kind of blocking scheme. So I would choose between Parker and Slaughter personally.
Yeah, I would say the same. With what they do on offense, I would question whether they would, because like with Slaughter, like he has excellent mobility. So is that a team that's gonna get him out in space and move him and weaponize him as a mover in space, like on screens and on the zone plays? But I mean, it looks like Brian Parker Jr. is the best on the board, and like being able to play more than one position, that's on the offensive line. That's that's key. Like being able to do more things, because you're not going to expect all 5 of your offensive linemen to stay healthy for 18 games. So, I mean, I would go Brian Parker.
Yeah, that was the right pick.
Oh, Bryce Lance, nice.
What receiver did Cleveland take earlier? I know they took somebody. They took Concepcion. So, I mean, on the antithesis of Concepcion, you went for more of the size play here with Bryce Lance, 6'4", 200-pound kind of guy, real vertical threat. Obviously a lot of athleticism there. His brother's Trey went 3rd overall. He's definitely a Colt prospect too, coming out of North Dakota State. But I mean, yeah, that's a complete overhaul in that room for Shadur Sanders and Todd Monken. And looking at what Monken has worked with in his time in Baltimore, there has been an effort to have that size component, with the addition of DeAndre Hopkins, with some guys like, a smaller, 6 foot 190 Rashad Bateman, a smaller 5'9" scat receiver in Zay Flowers. They had the pick of Hollywood Brown. I mean, you definitely are going size here if you do go receiver. So I get Lance.
EJ, where do you have Bryce Lance graded?
I got him like pretty much around here. You like the upside that he has. He's one of these, like, I got him, honestly, I would have him like in that same tier as like a Chris Brazzell. They're like down the field guys, super athletic. They are guys that can run. That's guys that are going to be a vertical threat for your offense. I think Bryce Lance has. I wish he would have came to some of these All-Star games, but I think he has a little bit of upside as a route runner. So this is an upside pick. And this is a guy definitely you can have your shot plays with.
So there's a comment in the chat about Akeem Mesidor falling. I'm of the opinion that this is where Mesidor goes because he's an older prospect with an injury history. Like, EJ, are you surprised that Mesidor is still available halfway through round 3?
No, not really. No, okay. I mean he's an excellent pass rusher, but it's just that's the thing when in terms of where you're drafting him at, like the age and the injury history that does play against him. So you don't want to spend that first and second draft capital on a guy where you're not 100% sure he's going to be available for you, or you don't know if he has any type of chronic or lingering issues that's from those injuries. But but you look at the value, you see him in the 3rd round. Like now, I would jump on him in the 3rd round because that's an excellent value there. So pretty much you're betting on the upside where in this 3rd round, but in the earlier rounds you kind of had those questions kind of follow him.
I think too with Mesidor, one thing that doesn't get mentioned enough is his versatility. I mean, he's even played snaps collegiately at a 1 tech all the way out to playing that 5 tech spot. So somebody that a lot of mileage can be had. I would just throw in there, I think already current contenders would be more excited about Mesidor and comfortable with his age because they're like, okay, if I get this guy for 5 or 6 years, we're going to take a run at it the next 5 or 6 years. We're not waiting to be like, oh, on 3 years, we're going to be ready. And by then he's going to be 28 years old. So I think for some teams, like, You take the Patriots, for example, with Vrabel, I think it would be a good landing spot. This is an easy kind of cop-out answer, but like Philly, I mean, with their love for guys 275 to 300 on the defensive line. But I mean, no, I think at this point he had to have gone soon for the talent.
Yeah. Yep. You got Cage Casey. He went to the Saints. Excellent. I really like that pick, Jacob Rodriguez to the Bengals. Jacob Rodriguez, he's a guy, like when a team like the Bengals that's rebuilding their defense, you need somebody with instincts and a nose for the football. And that's all Jacob Rodriguez is. Throw the measurables out the door with him because he's not going to have them. But this guy knows how to play football. He's a football player. And when you're building your defense, you need that type of guy in your locker room. I think that's an excellent fit for like a defense that's just trying to find themselves and create an identity. Jacob Rodriguez is one of those guys, and he's going to set the tone for that defense.
Well, there was a lot of, investment for the Bengals last draft at linebacker. They went second round, Demetrius Knight, big linebacker out of South Carolina. And then the mid rounds went Barrett Carter out of Clemson, more of a smaller sideline to sideline linebacker. I think they saw enough this year to see that Carter needs to be rotational versus an every down starter. So I think, I can tell you, Rodriguez looked great at the Senior Bowl. His ability in the box and coverage to be physical, go and thump a running back. His ball production, I mean, he had an interception on the last play of practice, had a forced fumble as well, and you saw that collegiately. That's somebody that can definitely get that from and throw that in that rotation with those young names I just mentioned. Cage Casey had a good interview with Casey, and the fact that he's comfortable having to develop and get himself some snaps at guard if needed, with tackle being his forte. I know the Saints could get a lot of mileage out of him. I think culturally it'd be a great fit. I think this is a good spot for him. I like Casey there. Isaiah World to the Chiefs. I mean, dude, he'd have to be just thanking the gods for that one as far as a fit for somebody that has got some serious interior line talent. Name is escaping me for a second, along with Creed Humphrey, the guard out of Tennessee.
Trey Smith.
I wanted to say Josh Smith. That's why I had it wrong. Thank you. And then opposite the investment that they made last year on the tackle out of Ohio State that, fell a little bit more than anticipated. His name's escaping me. I'm losing my touch here, 76 picks in. Yeah. Kingsley Suamatea, I wonder with Suamatea if he's also kind of like I said with Barrett Carter, if he's someone that they feel more comfortable with rotationally that can play guard, can play tackle out of BYU. I think they'd like to put a body in there. I wonder how much more they're trying to milk this Jawan Taylor experiment. Not personally as high on Taylor as others. I think too, at this point, looking at the board where it is, I get taken World.
Yeah. And one thing I know is the running backs are falling. I would think there would be a run around this time with the running backs, but like a lot of these running backs are falling.
So EJ, my observation is that mock drafters don't value running backs as high as NFL general managers.
Is that what it is?
So I think it's like our behavior as analysts where we devalue the position so much that we can always take a running back next round. So I think it's just human mock draft behavior. Because I think in the real NFL draft, I think you're right.
Yeah.
And what was it? I think I heard somebody say, like, it's okay to draft players that score touchdowns. And running backs are probably going to score more touchdowns than any other position that you draft. So it's okay to draft a player that scores touchdowns. Even if the position is devalued, you still need to score touchdowns.
Yeah, and like when you think about running backs, second to the quarterback, they touch the ball on offense more than anybody.
Those two picks after
Torreen York sighting. Where do you guys have Torreen York graded?
As far as this play, I mean, the kid is a player, man. I mean, his attitude, his production, instincts to the ball. It's just going to be a matter of if you think his length can hang sideline to sideline, not being a half step late. I think Tampa is a perfect fit for him as far as being able to get the most out of him with what they have personnel-wise around him. I know he made a lot of noise at Shrine Bowl. I think third round here is the ceiling for him with the size threshold. But that is a swing bet, whatever word you want to use, that you take here. I know some of the other picks right there, you could quick hit. Like you had D'Angelo Pons to Miami. I mean, I think Pons, if you looked at across the board for all 32 fan bases, he might be the most popular in terms of everyone's like, yeah, I want to take Pons. I want to take Pons. Mm-hmm. For him to be more of a 5'9", 170, 175-pound corner. But, I mean, the dude is a dog. Plays more physical than that, more like a 185-pound kind of guy. They need a corner so badly. I get taking the swing there. Somebody that and correct me, I think he might be a Florida native. So that's one I like that swing there. The Jay Gold they picked to the Colts, that is awesome right there. I mean, I mentioned him a round ago to them. I think that's the perfect team fit for him in that front seven. Like I said, I mean, the guy signed as an edge, built the pass rush, can shed blocks, some best football ahead of him. Has played in the cold, playing at Cincinnati, playing in northern Arkansas, as I mentioned. Not saying that Arkansas is super cold weather, but Cincinnati damn sure is. That's one of the better picks I have seen recently. Who was the pick after Pons? Kilgore finally went to the Steelers, man. Mm-hmm.
And that's an excellent place for him to play. Like they slot him in at the nickel, and like they already got Jalen Ramsey playing a safety position. I mean, it's a perfect place for him. Like that works.
Okay, so Clint, you are on the clock for Atlanta at pick 79. You want to talk yourself through this?
Yeah, it's kind of a shame as far as the value and the way the board landed for me to have gone Bernard in the second, for you to be sitting here and looking at names like Zachariah Branch. I know that's really popular among the fan base. Branch had about an 80-catch year at Georgia, with the second receiver on the team having 27 receptions. I mean, the offense ran through him going into the college football playoff. He is the strongest punt returner, in my opinion, in this class. He's got incredible wiggle to him. Averages about 10.1 yards per catch. So there's not as much of that. He's more of the short to intermediate kind of receiver, still developing his route tree. But you're not going to do that having gone Bernard. You could also throw Skylar Bell on there. I mean, he was top 3 in most every single receiving statistic this year coming out of UConn. That's another one that could have been interesting. I believe Antonio Williams is still on the board. But having gone that, I'd look at the corner board if you could pull it up. Yeah, you got to go Brandon Cease there. That'd be my pick. I think Cease is somebody that has been a big riser in the process. I've seen people like Dane Brugler have him as a top 35, 40 guy. The ability to put him in that 190, 195-pound athleticism opposite A.J. Terrell in that rotation with D'Alfro would be too good to pass up. And, I mean, for me to be walking out of tonight with Jeremy Bernard and Cease, that's 2 starters, one on each side of the ball. And then go into round 4 saying, man, I'm really going to look and see if somebody in that nose tackle spot or a linebacker is there that interests me. But I think you got to cash in there.
So, EJ, what do you think of Kilgore, York, Golday, Cisse?
Yeah, like Kilgore, he's an excellent place for him. Like he can go right, plug him right into the slot, and he can be a good player there. Torian York, you love him as a player. Kind of feel the same way as I do about Torian York as I do Jacob Rodriguez. Excellent player, just undersized. So you got to wonder how effective is he going to be. But instincts are there. Like just the measurables just are not there with him. But as far as playing a linebacker position, there's nobody else that you want. I like Jake Golday. He's one of those bigger linebackers, but he can still move. He can still he still can cover ground. So he's a guy that can play all 3 downs. I like that fit with the Colts. Brandon Cisse, put him next to AJ Terrell. He can, like Cisse, he can play. My only question with him is like a long speed. But if you want to play him in zones, you want to play him in 2 high defenses and keep a safety over top of him and let him play from top down. He's excellent. He has very good click and close. He's a physical guy. You want to put him in off man coverage and you want to put him in zone. Like nothing, let him keep everything in front of him and let him attack what's like attack passes like that's thrown in front of him. And that's where he's going to excel at.
And then EJ, Dante Corleone for the Ravens. Where's Corleone on your board?
Yeah, he's like another freak athlete guy. I got him like around this age. I mean this range. Another guy that like he kind of like slips through the cracks. He's a very good player, but he slips through the cracks, and somehow the Ravens end up with him. But he's a guy he can play a zero technique for you, but he got that type of strength. He's like a fire hydrant where he's gonna win the leverage battle all the time. So like he's gonna stuff the run. He can give you some pressure up the middle. He can shoot some gaps if you want to put him like a zero shade or something like that. Let him shoot up in the A gap. He can give you some burst and some disruption there. He's a disruptive type of player. But you add him into what they already have with Baltimore, and you see like he fits right into that rotation.
I think too, comments on the Godfather. I think the aura of him in a black Ravens jersey is just diabolical. That one should fly off the shelves. I think too, they've gotten so much mileage out of him, just signed to a 1-year deal. Georgia Bulldog Jonathan Jenkins, age 37 in the league. He's still productive, but I mean, you got to start making some plans there. I think I could relate that back to what I said about the Falcons pick as far as round 4. You look at a name like Corleone, you look at a name like Tim Keenan. That's some of the names I'd have been looking to see if they were there around that pick 117 as we got into round 4 for the Falcons. Haven't gone receiver and corner thus far. So totally get that for the Ravens. I've even been as interested in a defensive interior for them as early as the first round with some of those names like a Caleb Banks, a Caden McDonald. So I think that's good value for him. I think, EJ mentioned him getting through the cracks a little bit. I think some of that is just people got spooked by the heart issue he had last year, but he seems to have gotten that straightened out as that being more of a birth aspect for him. But a team like Jesse Minter and the Ravens are the one to take a shot on it. For Danny Sutton, just tell you from seeing him in Mobile, he is a guy you look at and you're just like, you had the genetics for this. Like, he is every bit that 270. Like, his arms are cut up. He is long. He is proportional. 5-star recruit. Very well coached out of Penn State. That is a guy at pick 81 that day one you're going to get a lot of mileage out of and is going to play in the league a long time. And that's in the 3rd round. That's kind of an idiot-proof pick. I think that was very, very well done for the Jags there, putting him. I mean, you're talking about some physical aspect, like we mentioned Trayvon Walker earlier in the episode. I think the Jags will look to get some interior defensive line help in this draft as well. I liked that one a lot.
Yeah, JT, I think this needs to be running back for the Vikings. If the Vikings don't come out of day 1 or 2 with a running back, I think a crime has been committed.
You got to go Price there.
So here was, something. I had an interesting idea on a podcast. Instead of talking about the top 5 running backs, which teams, EJ, do you think are the first 5 teams in this draft in some order to draft a running back? Like, who do you think, like, the need is so high that team needs to take a running back?
Off the top of my head, Texans, Vikings, Chiefs, definitely Chiefs. Who else I'm thinking of? I thought the Pittsburgh. And who else?
Cardinals.
Yeah. That's 5 right there. So
Yeah.
I mean, I thought the Chiefs would get a running back like immediately. Like I would mock Jeremiah Love to the Chiefs the most because I think that's the excellent fit there. But yeah, those are the teams I think need running back help.
And Clint, how about you? Who, if you had to pick 5 teams that were going to draft the first 5 teams to draft a running back, who do you think they are?
Texans, Cardinals. I'm losing my steam here a little bit. Texans, Cardinals. I think that
Chiefs, maybe Pittsburgh.
Chiefs. Yeah, I think it's time for the Chiefs to go upgrade over all of the mileage they've gotten out of the 7th round running back that they took out of Rutgers. His name's escaping me.
Monanganai.
No, my guy went to.
Wait, you were talking about Chicago. You were talking about a different team.
Yeah, I was talking about the Chiefs. I don't know why.
Oh, okay.
Pacheco.
Thank you. Yeah, it's time to go upgrade there. I mean, that's really where I start having the conversation about Love round 1. I know in this draft you went earlier than that, so that wasn't an option. I think for Price to have gone there, for many people being RB2 in this class, and I think undoubtedly whoever you are, a top 5 running back in this class, you got to go there. You could have also thrown Katron Allen in there as a name, as a thumper, had a strong week in Mobile, very compact build, 1,300 plus running yards this year, paired with Nick Singleton, who unfortunately did break his foot in Mobile. So we'll have to see how that affects him board-wise. But, I mean, Allen really surprised me how great he looked receiving out of the backfield and in his pass blocking in Mobile. That's just another name you could have thrown, but I would have taken Price as well. I think the Vikings are definitely one of those teams we'd throw as far as a running back.
EJ, we have about 15 picks left. Who are some players that are like available in this mock who you are really high on that haven't been taken yet?
I like Skylar Bell. I think he's a guy you can plug him into the slot. I think he's a natural separator. You plug him into any offense, I think he's going to be productive. A lot of these guys that's on the board now are like scheme specific guys with a specific role to them. Keontae Scott, like if you need a slot defender, a nickel defender, that's Keontae Scott for you. I'm surprised Ty Simpson has fallen this far. I'm not saying he's like an immediate starter, but if some team is looking for a backup, say like I was thinking if the Vikings aren't 100% sold on JJ McCarthy, Ty Simpson would be a way to hedge your bets. Or if you got a team with an aging veteran, Ty Simpson can be your next in line. You got guys like Nick Singleton, like there's a role for him. I know he just got injured, so that's going to knock him down a bit, but a role as a 3rd down back is sitting there waiting for him. That's who he is. You look at like some of these other guys like Takario Davis. At this point, like last year during draft season, like he was thought of as cornerback 1. Everybody was really high on him, but season didn't go the way he thought it would, and he transferred. But he's still a tall, fluid corner that can run. So, and when you look at him at this stage of the draft, this is where you want to take him. You see guys, Armaj Reed Adams, you see the offensive line help. R. Mason Thomas, I mean, he's not gonna, he's a shorter player, but he's one of the best pass rushers in this class. So like somebody in the 3rd round, somebody's gonna get a steal with him. So I mean, like you got guys pretty much it's a mixture of guys that are falling, and pretty much the entire running back position is here. Like all these guys are productive. All these guys like can be productive for you year 1. Seth McGowan, Emmett Johnson, Kalen Black, Katron Allen. Year 1, they can give you production. So like this is the time that you can take them.
Okay, and Clint, how about you? With about 12 picks to go, who's high on your board that hasn't been drafted, kind of like your best available?
Yeah, like I just mentioned Katron Allen. I think that's a third round running back all day. I would have said Zachariah Branch. He just went to the Steelers. I think for us to have talked earlier about them going with Denzel Boston as more as the straight line vertical threat with 6'4", 212-pound size opposite DK, that gives you that wiggle in the short to intermediate. That's incredible value to have gone Boston, versus Concepcion in the first. That's a name I'd throw as well. Go to the overall board if you don't mind. R. Mason Thomas is a DPR in the third round. Somebody that needs some immediate sack production is going to go there. Armaj Reed Adams, I see as a starter. Scroll down some, please. Keep going. Keontae Scott, I think, has an argument to be the top nickel in this class. Real playmaker, that we saw down the stretch here in the college football playoff. Somebody that wants it. I understand him still being on the board, but I do think there's a lot of upside in Dalen Everett, coming out of IMG Academy, playing 3 to 4 years worth of starts for Kirby Smart in Athens. I can tell you, incredibly well proportionally built. It looks like a guy that looks like a starting corner in the league. You had a good couple names on the next page there. Zakee Wheatley is a guy I'm really high on as a top 5 safety in this class. Incredibly athletic in the lower body, can run the alley. Good skills to come in rotationally. I think that's a nice safety board. Armand Reed Adams, I know that the Jags, whether it's offensive interior or defensive interior, want to get some guys with wide ass. And that's a good pick. That's a great pick for the Bears. They're taking R. Mason. When you look at some of those receivers, I don't think he should be gone yet, but I'll tell you, Tyron Montgomery made a lot of noise at the Senior Bowl. Talking about a guy that was a walk-on basketball player at LSU, didn't start playing football till 2 years ago, learned off of YouTube videos how to play receiver. Had a lot of great separation ability as a D3 product. Gabe Jacobs just went. A lot of versatility there, incredible production out of Illinois. Even if you think he's adequate athletically, in the third round for the price with the production and versatility, that's the kind of pick you take here. I'd have thrown him in there. I'd be interested to see where the league values Tacario Davis out of Washington, former Arizona corner. He's every bit of 6'4", creeping up on 200 pounds. Could tie his shoes standing up. That's another name. Jude Bowery out of Boston College had a really nice week at the Senior Bowl. Productive tackle for somebody that needs somebody in a rotation. Like, let's say that San Francisco had not gone tackle.
Well, we have to do San Francisco now, so why don't we talk through best available for the 49ers? So, EJ, any thoughts on what you think the 49ers would be doing at pick 92 here?
They haven't picked a wide receiver yet, have they?
I do not believe so. I believe we've gone, was it offensive tackle corner?
Tell you a name I like there.
We did Blake Miller, and before Blake Miller, it was Kenyon Sadiq.
Josh Cameron out of Baylor is a guy that's 6'2", 200 plus, and I interviewed Josh in Mobile, and it's because he's so rocked up that it makes him look a little taller. Versus, I might be 6'5", but I'm a lot less muscular 205 than these guys are as world-class athletes. You could have told me that Cameron was 6'3", and I'd have believed you. Former walk-on at Baylor, has done nothing but be productive. His best football's ahead of him. I could really see him being that size component in San Francisco. That's a name.
You like Cameron day 2?
I don't even know it's so much that I'm endorsing that versus early day 3. Just saying, if you were to sit here and say, man, we really are looking at this receiver board and who's there as a fit, I don't know who else jumps out at me more than him.
Yeah, and when you look at San Francisco, they seem to have a type at wide receiver. You look at Ricky Pearsall, you look at Deebo Samuel, you look at Brandon Ayuk, you look at guys that are not necessarily those tall burners that get down the field. These are run after the catch guys. These are physical guys. and that tracks with Josh Cameron.
Okay. Let's do Josh Cameron to the 49ers, and then we're on the clock for the Rams again. So this is our fourth pick for the Rams. We did
Makai Lemon. You did
Trotter.
It was McCoy. No, it was Chris Johnson.
Chris Johnson.
And then Josiah Trotter.
Yeah.
So where do we think the value is on the board right now? Like, I think like running back looks really good, right? Because we've mentioned like Mike Washington is here, Katrin Allen is here, Emmett Johnson.
We should have put Mike Washington, our who's the best on the board discussion a second ago. I mean,
but the Rams, they're too deep at running back. Honestly, I would go Carson Beck here. Like, I think McVay, this is a guy that McVay can work with. He's a point and shoot type of quarterback. He's got rhythm, like accuracy. He has that. If anybody can get something out of Carson Beck and even out his play, I think McVay can.
Okay, let's do Carson Beck, and Denver is on the clock. So you guys want to talk about from Ty Simpson down to Gabe Akis. Go ahead, EJ.
Ty Simpson is interesting with Miami because honestly, the way he plays kind of plays like Tua did at his best. So you wonder if that might be a little bit of the same what's going on there, but I like the fit. I think it's going to take a while, but it works. And then let's see, scroll back up a little bit. Let me see who else we got. We have Armaj Reed Adams. I mean, you plug him in. He's a people mover. He's a mauler. He's a big guy. You plug him right in on that Jacksonville offensive line. Gives Trevor Lawrence a little bit more protection. And then I think we saw our Mason Thomas go. I mean, he's just another fastball off the edge for Chicago. He's going to be a rotational pass rusher for them. I mean, that's just pretty much they're just adding to what they have. They already have. Good. That's a good move, Katrin Allen to the Broncos. That's because you already have RJ Harvey as more of your satellite running back. Now you got a guy that can ground out your yards. Katrin Allen, he's what I call a sustaining back. He's going to get you. I said this on a podcast with Jim before. If it's third and 3, he's going to get you 4 yards. But also if it's 3rd and 10, he's going to get you 4 yards. So he's a solid guy. He's just going to keep on moving the chains for you. So I like that pick with the Broncos. And then the Jacoby Lane, just another long, big target for Drake May. Drake May has one of the best deep balls in the league. You want guys that can get downfield because he's going to put the ball in play when he's throwing downfield vertically. So you want guys that can either separate vertically or can win at the catch point. And Jacoby Lane definitely can win at the catch point.
Cool. So we have a Kyle Lewis sighting in round 3. Clint, you want to take that one?
Yeah, I liked Kyle Lewis before it was cool. That's another one I'm going to pat myself on the back. Yeah, I think to be that 6 foot 225, he's every bit of it. I was plenty pleased at the Senior Bowl in terms of his body habitus, and I can tell you in coverage he was an absolute demon. Playing to the catch point. I think if you look at the modern star position, kind of playing that hybrid, for him to go somewhere like Seattle's a perfect fit. You're seeing a lot of that, what they're doing with Nick Eamon-Warry, Mike McDonald. This would be great for me to know what to do. So I really do like that. I think at this point he's a playmaker. Talking about a guy, the production last year. I mean, this is the kind of guy you pull up his stat sheet and he's got 200 plus tackles the last 2 years. So I really do like that rounding out day 3. If you could scroll up a little bit, I could quit.
Yeah, so let's let EJ do pick 98, and then I'll scroll back up so we can get the rest of the picks for you.
Okay. 98 for the Eagles. Can I see the cornerback list? All right. Can you show me the edge rusher list?
Yeah, so I think this edge list right now looks pretty good.
Yeah, it does. All right. Yeah. All right. So I figured I was going to go cornerback, but cornerback can wait. Got Maxwell I'm gonna go with the Jason Barham, Kel Kamara. I'm going with upside with Joshua Josephs from Tennessee. He's an upside guy. Needs to get a little bit stronger, but what the Eagles are looking for, they have Nolan Smith, they have Jalen Hunt coming off the edge. Fangio likes to go with his 3 deep at edge, so he'll be that third one coming off the bench, and like he just another developmental pass rusher guy. You want your guys to be able to move in space. Well, Fangio wants his guys to be able to move in space. You look at the body type; it's similar to what Nolan Smith and Jalen Hunt has. Josephs is a guy he can move in space. He does have a quick burst off the edge, and he can bring pressure off the edge. So he's pretty much going to add to the depth rotation.
Okay, so we are at the last pick. So, Clint, was there a level that you wanted me to scroll up to so that you can see it?
Yeah, I would just really mention how much I liked that pick 94 Katron Allen of the Broncos. I think pairing him with RJ Harvey, EJ already hit on it a lot with that one, but the value is so good there. Peyton will get a ton of mileage out of him. I'm interested to see LT Overton 97 in Minnesota. I think there could be a case of tweener there, being about 278, 6'2". I think he was a little oversold size-wise by Alabama, but you're talking about a former top 5 recruit. His dad's the athletic director at Kennesaw State. He's been the assistant athletic director at Texas A&M, where Overton came from. His brother is a college football player, a lot of pedigree there. That's an interesting one that they could get some multiples out of. And then just the Ty Simpson pick to Miami, you look at what they have in Quinn Ewers. I think there's some mileage to be had there, but we're not going to sit here and act like that's the long-term answer. You got to get some competition in there, somebody with some more athletic upside. So I like that there for a Dolphins team. And then Taylon Green going 99 to the Steelers. I can tell you, man, I mean, he's every bit of 6'6", 230. And what I saw in Mobile, he was just built different than the other guys, had some nice touch down the field. To put him in there with a Will Howard and create that quarterback competition going forward, even if you were to reevaluate next draft, round 1, how you feel, that's taking a good shot there. So, I mean, at the bottom of round 3 right here, you're taking some shots before you get into day 3, and you'll see some people take somebody who, even if consensus saw it as a hair of a reach, people are going to take their guy and have the security of it. So I thought that was a really interesting one as well.
Okay, so I'm not sure if Brandon is here to do the last pick for the Jaguars. So I am scouring through trying to find value on the board. So, EJ, what tight ends do you have a day 2 grade on?
A lot. Raridan, Royer, Stowers, Klein, and like a little bit below that, I got injuries and Cuevas.
Okay, so Mr. Irrelevant of this 3-round mock, I'm going to go with Marlon Klein of Michigan. This is a bet on upside.
Yeah. And he pairs well with Brenton Strange. Both of them excellent blockers. Brenton Strange has developed as a receiver. So, if they want to go 12 personnel, they can really run some guys over.
Okay. So, first, I want to also give a huge shout out to everybody in the chat that was drafting. Thank you. It's you guys in the chat that made the draft go. I also want to say thank you to EJ and Clint because you guys just took 2.5 hours out of your Friday night. So EJ, do you want to let everybody know about your socials and the Thursday podcast that you do every week with Draft Professor and everything else about you?
Yeah, pretty much. You can catch me every Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern on the Mrs. Are Relevant podcast. Pretty much we doing different draft topics every week. You can also catch some of my work in the Rogue Analytics Draft Guide that's coming out later this week. I'm doing running backs and wide receivers. Pretty much you can catch me on my X or Twitter, doing pretty much film breakdown, player prospect breakdown, scheme fits. Pretty much all my opinions film based. So don't argue with me, argue with the film. And you'll never, ever, ever hear me say the word generational.
Cool. And Clint.
Yeah, you can just one-stop shop me at Twitter. My namesake, Clint Goss. My handle, NFL Draft Dome. You could find anything there. I hop on here once a week with Jim. I've kind of carved out a role, whether we meant to or not, kind of as the sixth man off the bench when he will say, like, oh, somebody's kid got sick. Can you take the Thursday linebackers? Can you take the Wednesday safeties? Can you take this mock kind of thing? Got a good grin out of you mentioning the 2.5 hours out of your Friday night. I'm the guy sitting here in my garage with the 3-year-old and the 1-year-old asleep upstairs. So this is my Friday night at this point of life right now.
Well, and ironically, yeah, it's the same for me, right? Like, this is what I would love to do on a Friday night. I'm not the type to go out anymore, but again, I want to give a shout out to Clint and EJ on the podcast. I want to give a shout out to everybody at the Draft Professor that retweeted this, helped us find people to make the selections. We do this every Friday. So every Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern, we do one of these. What pretty much changes is who's drafting for which team and which podcasters are on the channel. So next week, it'll be Drew Collings on the podcast and possibly Anthony Russo. But if Anthony can't do it, I'm actually going to be contacting probably one of the drafters that was in the chat to hop on the other side of the camera. So, yeah, Luis, thanks for drafting for Denver. And we're going to be doing more of these. But for the 110 people at the Draft Professor, for EJ, Clint, myself, this has been a great 2.5-hour, 3-round mock draft. Thank you so much. Enjoy your Friday night. We will see you on a podcast again tomorrow morning. Thank you, everybody.